Forest. So something for them to really focus on this afternoon against an Aston Villa side who are certainly trying to cement their place towards that top part of the table.
I'll run you through the two teams in just a moment, but Villa, who came from behind to beat Salzburg on Thursday in the Europa League, they're looking good in that competition. Clearly looking good in the Premier League, still in the FA Cup. It's mightily impressive the work Unai Emery continues to do, and you actually glanced down the squad list a couple of moments ago and said, look at that team, that it's now a really competitive top 4 Premier League team.
Absolutely, and the work that Unai Emery's done over this period of time and being in the club and being allowed to sort of bring the culture together, being allowed to really lead the charge on who he wants to bring in the club, who fits his style of play, which is probably a little bit away from the philosophies that you hear about when the clubs are trying to make the decisions. And it certainly looks like an Unai Emery team. And you look down at that squad list today and you're still missing the main man in John McGinn.
Yep.
There's others missing as well in terms of Ollie Watkins, but the squad depth that they now have to compete on the fronts that we're talking about, and listen, without a shadow of a doubt for me, they're going to be competing in that top 4 for a long period of time.
Yep, no Watkins today, hasn't recovered from that hamstring twinge that he suffered on Thursday. Yuri Tillemans, John McGinn, Boubacar Kamara, who's been very impressive, all absent. And for Brentford, we talk of Unai Emery and the job he's done at Aston Villa. Keith Andrews deserves immense credit for the work he's done, replacing Thomas Frank, losing Johan Visser, using Brian Mbeumo, losing Christian Norgard. Many would have thought a season of struggle lies ahead, but they have compounded those pre-season predictions emphatically. They've looked really good.
And it's just they've found a way of playing as well. And sometimes you look at a club and there were questions asked over Keith Andrews and the appointment that Brentford have made, considering that the club that they are now, established Premier League club, they've got a new stadium, everyone's pulling in the right direction, but he's blown everyone away. I think if they win today, they can take themselves up to 7th. It's a fantastic position for Brentford to be in, and like I say, when I don't say that lightly, that Nottingham Forest, it was a shock defeat against them, but they've earned that right to be considered a top half team in the Premier League.
Here come the sides at Villa Park. The flamethrowers that had gone a little bit quiet now burst back into life as the two sides emerge from the corner of Villa Park. If you know your Villa Park geography, the tunnel located between the Trinity Road stand that we sit in and the North stand away to our left. The referee is Tim Robinson, flanked by his 2 assistants, and the 2 skippers, Ezri Konsa, who spent a very successful time with Brentford, leading out Aston Villa, and Matthias Jensen leading out Brentford. Rather confusingly, in the claret jackets, with Villa in the light blue jackets. You almost feel that should be the other way round.
Yeah, absolutely, and you look at them and which side is which, but listen, there's so many recognisable faces in both of these teams now. Like I mentioned, established Premier League club in Brentford now, and listen, the amount of internationals that Aston Villa possess today, what a fixture we're going to look forward to.
So the headline team news for Aston Villa: 2 debutants, but not really. Tammy Abraham and Douglas Luiz, both formerly of this parish, returned, and they both start with Tammy Abraham in for Ollie Watkins, who suffered that hamstring injury on Thursday. He's not in the squad at all. And Douglas Luiz also starts. In all, there are 7 changes from that 3-2 win over Salzburg. Emi Martinez, Lamine Bogard, Jadon Sancho, Emi Buendia, the only 4 to keep their places. So Martinez, the goalkeeper, Cash, Konsa, Torres and Martz in the back 4, Douglas Luiz and Bogard, and in front of those 2, Sancho, Rodgers, who is the only Villa player to play every single Premier League game this season for them, Buendia, and the returning Tammy Abraham. 26 goals in 40 appearances in what was a very successful loan spell back in 2018-19. 3 Brentford changes from that defeat at Nottingham Forest, or to Nottingham Forest, that Luke was describing. Sepp Vandenberg, Jordan Henderson, Dango Ouattara are in, with Nathan Collins, Yehor Yarmoliuk and Mikkel Damsgaard on the bench. Damsgaard, an injury concern. So Kelleher, the goalkeeper, Coyote, Ayer, Vandenberg and Henry, Henderson, Janelt, Ouattara, Jensen, Schade and Igor Thiago. The prolific Igor Thiago, 17 goals to his name, 16 in the Premier League, second behind you-know-who. What a terrific season he is having. And if Luke Brentford are to flourish, they need Thiago to score, because he's got 7 of their 12 away goals in the Premier League. He has been key to what Brentford have done well this season.
He is absolutely pivotal, and I covered their game against Nottingham Forest at Brentford last weekend. he went missing. And there was a massive reason why Brentford ended up losing that game. He had a huge chance inside the first 6 minutes that they probably should have taken, and after that he certainly wasn't the player that we've been used to see. He certainly took the Premier League by storm, and to get anything out of today, he's going to have to be back on it this afternoon.
And talking of centre forwards, really interesting to see how Tammy Abraham gets on. The huge ovation you heard there for Douglas Luiz, who was another very popular player here at Aston Villa. Didn't work out at Nottingham Forest for Douglas Luiz, but he has a home at Villa Park and he's right in the team from the off. And Tammy Abraham, Luke, 26 goals in that 40 appearances, key cog in Villa's promotion season. You might remember them beating Derby in the playoff final at Wembley. He's straight in because of Ollie Watkins' injury, and he will be desperate to get off to a goal-scoring start.
Absolutely desperate, but he knows what this club's all about, and I was one of the victims that probably conceded a couple of those goals against me back in 2018. But a real astute signing that, listen, they haven't played too much money for him, but to get him back in when he's been playing football, recovered from a proper serious injury he had at Roma, but to be back in the team straight away today, he will have hopefully looking to grab this with both hands.
Yeah, just over 18 million Aston Villa signed Tammy Abraham from Besiktas, where he got 13 goals in 26 appearances, spells at AC Milan and Roma, where he did score goals, and we'll see how he gets on this afternoon at Villa Park. The first thing of note to say is that Villa have been swapped around, so they will be attacking their beloved Holt End in the first half of this match, which is not something they like to do. They much rather having the Holts at their back in the first half and attack it in the second, but Brentford rather shrewdly have swapped them around. And it is Brentford building the first attack of this game, with Jensen trying to play it infield, Sancho in the way. Brentford in their baby blue away strip this afternoon, with a little bit of orange and brown trim, the claret socks as well, going from right to left, and Villa in their traditional claret and blue home shirts with the white shorts and the blue socks. Cash gets his first touch of the game, Rodgers in field, Jensen puts his foot on it, and he can calm it down by playing it all the way back to Van den Berg. Luke.
Yeah, and just noticed Morgan Rodgers maybe took a little clip on his ankle just inside us, Brentford's half, but he immediately signalled to the bench, but looks like he's just got back on his feet now, but real concern early on for Aston Villa.
And Villa, who have suffered numerous injury problems, will not want to lose arguably, in fact probably isn't even arguably, their main man this season in Morgan Rodgers. 9 Premier League goals. He has stepped up when Ollie Watkins was struggling, and there's no surprise that he is starting another game. But you're right, Luke, watching him and looking at him, he is wincing and he is not moving particularly freely. He's got a big grimace on his face, and that is one to keep an eye on. He's looking to the bench, and he's now complaining to the assistant referee as to why he didn't get a free kick.
Yeah, certainly a concerning one for him, but I think he probably wanted a little bit more attention than he actually got from his bench. I think that Unai Emery was just looking the opposite direction and said, look, can't afford to have you come off, Morgan, so you're going to have to get on with it.
He's on the ball now, plays it to Sancho and gets it back from Sancho, and plays a rather hopeful ball forward that should be comfortable for Aya, just about sorts his feet out, and plays it all the way back to Caoimhin Kelleher, who is all in green this afternoon, away to our right hand side. His early ball forward, it'll drop for Jensen, and now Henderson 35 yards out, spread out to Coyote on that far side the right. Ouattara takes over, his early ball in is a good one to Sharda, who controls nicely. Rico Henry joins the attack on this left hand side, just inside the penalty area. Janelt swings it towards the back post, Martson gets his head on that. Abraham does not win his side a free kick. He thought he was shoved, but Villa might profit anyway, because Rodgers, who actually now looks fine, is on the ball, and he can bring Sancho into the game, and Villa can start again from the back.
Yeah, real early bit of pressure. Kelleher's has smashed one over the top, which almost caught Aston Villa by surprise. Torres is out of position, and then it drops down to Henderson, who feeds one wide, and they use it really, really well. And what a feature for Brentford certainly is they love to get players in the box, and they had four and then 5 ring in the box, but fortunately for Villa, a poor cross from Janelt, which came to nothing.
There is rain in the air, grey sky above. There was a little downpour just before kick-off. It's relented for now, but certainly wouldn't surprise you if it returns. Now Igor Thiago is offside on that far side, the right. Slightly surprised the assistant put his flag up there, because normally with those he leaves it down, waits for Thiago to do what he does, and then the flag goes up, but it was an instant decision. Well,
he certainly seemed to be very certain on that. Like you say, you'd usually let that run, because it was certainly an interesting one. Aston Villa holding a high line on the centre circle inside their own half, just gets flicked over the top, and Igor Thiago certainly looks like he's got the bit between his teeth with those early runs in behind.
So we are 3 and a bit minutes old here on 5 Sports Extra. There is an offering of Premier League football for you across the board over on 5 Live. Manchester United against Fulham. Michael Carrick looking to back up 2 excellent wins over Manchester City and Arsenal. And over on Sports Extra 2, another big game for Nottingham Forest. And they welcome an out-of-sorts Crystal Palace, who have gone on that long run without a win. Oliver Glasner off at the end of the season. Possibly Jean-Philippe Mateta leaving at the end of this transfer window. And they are away at Nottingham Forest. Sports Extra 2 via the BBC Sounds app for that. Villa in possession. It's with Douglas Luiz, who aims a big diagonal towards the back post in the general direction of Pau Torres, who wandered forward. But it's over his head. Skips out of play for a goal kick, which Caoimhin Kelleher will take 4 minutes in.
Yeah, early bit of pressure from Villa. First time they've got into Brentford's half. But a wasted, hopeful ball straight from the centre of the pitch, just inside Brentford's half, outside the centre circle, and probably no one round it enough. They certainly put bodies forward, but it comes to nothing, and Brentford regroup.
Well, we have our first goal of the 3 2 o'clock Premier League games, and it has come at the City Ground, where Forest lead Crystal Palace by 1-0. Cash with some defending to do, very close to his own corner flag, plays it against Sharda and wins a goal kick. And that goes down as very good defending from Matty Cash. He was under pressure from Sharda there, who fancied he could win a corner, but Cash plays it against Sharda, and Villa have this goal kick.
Yeah, and it's just another ball over the top for Brentford. They're certainly looking at that threat early on, but Matty Cash probably could have dealt with it first time in terms of heading it away, but he decided to duck out of it, and then it's going to be a really interesting battle between him and Sharda down this left-hand side right in front of us, but he managed to play one off Sharda's shins, and Villa get the goal kick. Which
is taken by Martinez. Very brightly attired, yellow goalkeeping kit and the lurid orange gloves and the boots to match. Henry goes all the way back to Kelleher as Brentford go from right to left in this first half. We watch from our low position in the Trinity Road stand. We've got an excellent view actually of the dugouts just in front of us, and we can already see Unai Emery patrolling the edge of his technical area. Rain jacket on, arms folded, jet black hair. He is one of the more intense head coaches in the Premier League, Luke. You certainly wouldn't want to be on the end of one of his tongue waggings. Jensen the target of this long ball forward. This will break for Thiago on the edge of the Villa penalty area. Can't do anything with that. Sancho loops it rather awkwardly towards Bogard. He's under pressure. Sharda's touch to Jensen, and his left foot shot is wide. He wanted the corner. Tim Robinson, our referee, disagrees and points for a goal kick. But another glimmer for Brentford, who are having the more eye-catching start.
Absolutely, and they've almost gone 4 for 4 at the back. They've gone 4 forward, they've got Sharda, they've got Thiago, they've got Jensen's pushing forward with Ouattara on the right, and they seem to be overwhelming Aston Villa. Anytime the ball comes forward, the second balls are dropping on, and Jensen's just snatched at one, dragged it miles wide in the end, but another warning sign for Aston Villa.
And Unai Emery already is furious with his players. He wants a little bit more up front. It's not really sticking there. Both Cash and Sharda slip at the same time, almost like they were synchronised swimming there. They both went down at the same time. Cash is now shoved by Sharda. Now the referee, I think, has seen that, but perhaps will go back for this free kick that was maybe taken a touch too quickly by Rico Henry. So a little bit of sorting out for Tim Robinson to do. It is greasy underfoot, Luke, and normally when that happens, and you'll know better than anyone, you'd say that doesn't necessarily favour the defence.
No, absolutely not, and it's a real focus now from me. I'm just looking at Aston Villa's high line they're currently playing. The ball's just 10 yards inside Brentford's half, and they're literally just outside the centre circle, and there is a hell of a lot of space, and it looks like Brentford have identified that as one of their game plans to start with, because every ball so far has been an early one, over the top and in behind.
Yeah, for the likes of Thiago, Sharda and Ouattara to latch onto, and they are very much on the last line of defence, all three of them occupying the 4 Aston Villa defenders. Brentford are keeping the ball nicely here. It's in their back line. Henderson plays it early forward again, looking for either one of Ouattara or Thiago. Thiago was offside, and as soon as he made a move to try and collect the ball, flag goes up. But you're right, Luke, that is a quite pronounced early tactic from Brentford, and they've had some relative success.
Yeah, I just think they're prepared to commit them extra bodies forward to fall on the second balls. Even Thiago, he loves to get involved in a physical battle. He's chasing things down. He's a real good target man for them, and so far. They've just had those early offside calls, but every time that ball's set back, he is running straight through the middle.
Martinez now going long. Abraham, wonderful touch to control it, stone dead. He gets it back from Sancho, right hand edge of the penalty area, low ball in that had Henderson in the way of it. Schade is then shoved by Rodgers, not so subtly, right in front of the assistant referee, and Brentford have this free kick.
No, and there's a big groan from the whole end, whether they were disagreeing with the referee's Tim Robinson's decision. I don't think it was. A real obvious foul right in front of the assistant referee, and lets Brentford off the hook. They're the frustrating ones as you're a defender looking on your teammates. Don't foul there, don't let the pressure off, but fortunately for them. But an interesting one for Tammy Abraham. Lovely touch, brings it down, runs inside the right-hand side of the penalty area and just can't get the cut back right. But great to see him involved early on for Aston Villa.
5 seasons abroad, Tammy Abraham, 4 in Italy and Turkey this season. 2021, April 2021, his last Premier League appearance, then for Chelsea, as Henry goes all the way back to Kelleher, away to our right-hand side. Brentford looking to do the double over Aston Villa. You might remember during Villa's real stodgy start, where they didn't win any of their first 5 Premier League games, Brentford, one of those sides that beat them. That's a clever ball over the top. Henry tried to play it first time to Thiago. Again, got the double kiss off Matty Cash, which the Brentford fans, you can hear, aren't happy with that decision. And Henry will be a little bit disappointed with that. Had he got that contact correct, Thiago potentially had a tap in for 1-0.
And it's certainly the one that we've been identifying early on. A ball over the top from Van den Berg. Nearly catches Matty Cash out, because you mentioned that slickness on the surface. It zips away from him. He's almost in behind. All he has to do is feed one across towards the penalty spot, and it's a 1-0 tap-in for Thiago, but fortunately not. He couldn't get the connection, and Matty Cash is able to recover.
Rico Henry, who learnt his trade just down the road here, or just up the road in Warsaw, where he was very impressive. That looked like a foul on Douglas Luiz, but Abraham picks up the pieces, evades a Van den Berg slide challenge. It breaks to Coyote in the right back position for Brentford, and he will bring it away. Buendia, really his first involvement in the game. Emi Buendia on that far side wins the challenge, and Brentford have this throw in their right back position, 0-0.
Yeah, a little bit of frustration there. It was a really good tackle, recovering tackle. It looked like it was from Henderson. And real questions asked from Douglas Luiz. He stays down right in the middle of Brentford's half, but maybe one that he potentially got away with as we just look at the replay. No, he nicks it with his left toe, and Brentford really have started this game very, very brightly and with a lot of intensity. Brentford,
who lost 2-0 at Chelsea in a game that they were unfortunate to come away with nothing. They were much the better side than that 2-0 defeat at Nottingham Forest. They've not lost 3 successive league games without scoring since March 2012, which is some going. 13 years since they last lost 3 in a row without scoring. Just a measure of the gradual rise of Brentford over the years, as Henderson swings another long ball into the penalty area. That was between Thiago and Schade, and Villa can comfortably deal with that. That's a loose touch, however, from Bogard. It just gets away from him on this surface that is slippy and sleek, as Jensen, with the long hair bouncing, brings it forward. Schade hugging the touchline near side the right. We are only a couple of metres away from this in our low position in the Trinity Road stand. Janelt smoothly to Ayer, and back to Janelt again. And opening 12 minutes, Brentford have definitely been the better, and they look the more composed, especially with the ball at their feet, although they give it away on that far side. Sancho, though, can't keep it in play. Douglas Luiz then runs it out, and Brentford have this throw. And Keith Andrews, who we can see down below with his hands in his pocket, goes to have a little word with one of his coaches. Will be, I'd say, Luke, the happier of the 2 head coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. They're 13 minutes in, they've got 60% of the possession, and they're really imposing themselves early on this fixture. They've got real good movement throughout midfield. At times you've got Rico Henry pushing on, Schade, then you've got the centre midfielders dropping out.
Schade and Cash go head-to-head. That's a battle that is developing very nicely. The referee was quite happy to let that skirmish go. Ditto Sancho on Henry, and the end result of all of that is Vitaly Janelt now having a little go down the inside left channel right in front of us. Nicks off Rodgers, throw to Brentford, and you can hear the effect this start is having on Villa and Villa Park. Normally such a raucous atmosphere is subdued and quiet because Brentford are making good progress on this near side, the left.
Yeah, frustrating one, but real one for now Aston Villa to come alive to, as Coyote comes right over the pitch from his right back position in front of us to take a long throw, sort of 10 yards outside the edge of the 18-yard box, and something that Brentford have used brilliantly over the past few weeks.
Yeah, 101 long throws into the box in the Premier League this season, if you're interested. 8 of them creating chances, which is 4 more than any other player. So pity the soul that's had to count the long throws into the Brentford penalty area. Get all sorts of stats these days. But this is a pertinent one because it's been a good weapon for Brentford. And we're about to see it demonstrated with Coyote, who has Sancho in front of him trying to put him off. It's a brilliant throw. Oh, Martinez is on the floor. He ran into Thiago. It was headed away. Of course, had that gone straight in, it wouldn't have counted. He didn't get that far anyway. And Cash can loop one clear, not very successfully. That's much better from Cash, second time of asking. Towards the halfway line, Buendia and Henry. Now Rodgers, there's space for Abraham. Rodgers finds Abraham, and he's through here. It's Abraham who pokes it goalwards. Kelleher makes a good save. The first real chance of the game. Rodgers to Abraham. Kelleher with a big left hand keeps the score at 0-0, but in the blink of an eye, we saw how dangerous Villa can be. We'll bring Luke in on that in a moment. We'll just see how Brentford do with this laboured counter-attack. It looked like they might spring forward with pace. They will now. Ouattara has it right-hand side of the box. That's out of play. Brentford throw. First real opportunity for Aston Villa. And
we talk about opportunities, it is an absolute huge one to turn the game on its head. It's a brilliant ball through for Rodgers down the left-hand side, and Tammy Abraham gets away from Henderson. He just then, instead of maybe dinking it over Kelleher, he has to get a toe poke on it, and Kelleher stands up brilliantly in a good strong left arm and pushes it away for Brentford, but a massive chance for Villa to take the lead.
And it's the clearest chance of the game we've had so far, 15 minutes in. On Radio 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. Coyote's long throw, Martinez under pressure, Sharda goalwards, and it wouldn't quite fall Ouattara's way. It's another half chance for Brentford. Had Sharda made better contact with that, they could well have taken the lead. They're still on the front foot with Ouattara. His volley to the front post is easily held by Emi Martinez. And worth a look at that replay because the camera's panned on Sharda. I fancy he might want that one back. That was a decent chance.
Well, Martinez gets caught in no man's land almost, tries to get a punch on something. It drops to Sharda, 7 or 8 yards outside the centre of the goal. He strikes at it and almost misses his kick. It's a huge chance again for Brentford. Any sort of side foot or contact on the ball is almost certainly 1-0 Brentford.
Well, the early signs are good for goals in this game at Villa Park. Still waiting for our first, but a couple of decent chances apiece now. The floodlights are shining brightly on the roof of the Doug Ellis stand opposite us. They've been on for quite some time. Given the gloomy conditions in the West Midlands, no rain, but it probably isn't too far away. Jensen and Henderson exchange passes inside the centre circle. Now smoothly out to that far side, the right. And Coyote coming in field from his right back position, doesn't take the ball with him. Buendia gets a rare touch. It's all very tight and congested in the Villa midfield. Buendia with the yellow boots, lovely slow centre of gravity, bouncing between challenges. But Tim Robinson in these early stages, Luke, has shown that he's quite happy to let the game flow, and he's not likely to blow for that sort of skirmish.
No, and it's really intensely battling in the centre of the pitch, and Buendia had a few bits of contact from Coyote, who'd given the ball away and was trying to get it back, but not enough to really give a foul, and he almost wanted it to be stopped and pulled up. But credit to Tim Robinson, he's letting the game flow, and it's certainly making it an intriguing counter at the moment, and it's who handles those frustrations better, I suppose, in the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, still Brentford continue to be the more composed with the ball at their feet, and they're knocking it back smoothly and in a controlled fashion in their back line. Jensen goes early again. It's Ouattara on that far side, the right. A little shove on Martson, but that's no free kick. Tim Robinson points for the corner, and it's another opportunity for Brentford from a set piece with his corner in front of their own fans.
Yeah, and again, lovely bit of play for Brentford. The ball came centrally in the middle of Aston Villa's half. Square pass into Jensen, who first time, without even looking, he's just flipped it over the top of Maatsen for Ouattara. But Maatsen, to be fair to him, is fantastic positioning and reaction to get back, and then he blocks the cross, which now goes out for a Brentford corner. But another indication that Brentford are looking to play in behind as often as they possibly can.
First corner of the afternoon for Brentford, and it is on that far side with plenty of the big players inside the penalty area. The corner right into the heart of the box, but that was Emi Martinez at his imperious best, and he rolls it out to Rodgers, who can scamper forward quickly. Early ball to Sancho, right hand side. Sancho coming in field with the gloves and the blue base layer on what is a chilly afternoon in Birmingham. The pace of that counter-attack though is slowed because there weren't too many players offering, so Villa now revert to building slowly from the back, and they are doing so with Douglas Luiz, base of the centre circle, floats one towards Rodgers. The header is an awkward one from Janelt, and Kelleher keeps that in play before it crosses the line for a corner. So 19 minutes in, it remains Villa 0, Brentford 0.
Yeah, and I think we just showed you an indication of what Brentford are all about. Real dangerous counter-attack for Aston Villa, but the time it took 11 players to get behind the ball for Brentford was fantastic, and never really gave Aston Villa any time to settle on that counter-attack. Really impressive defensive mindset and structure for Brentford this afternoon.
Manchester United lead at Old Trafford against Fulham by a goal to nil. Casemiro has opened the scoring there. Manchester United 1, Fulham 0. That's over on BBC Radio 5 Live. And then full commentary to come from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 4:30 kickoff. An always enticing fixture between Tottenham, badly struggling under Thomas Frank and badly struggling at home as well, against Manchester City, who are under pressure from Aston Villa, who will, Villa, with a positive result, a draw or a win, would go above City into second before Manchester City play in North London at 4:30. The former Brentford player Konza to Martinez, all a little bit dicey through the 6-yard box. You always hold your breath when teams, as they like to do these days, play out from the back, but Villa do it successfully enough. Rodgers is then swarmed upon by 3 Brentford players, but he's got such grace in possession that he manoeuvres it out to Cash well, and now all the way back to Bogard, and Villa have the ball back with Douglas Luiz, centre of the Brentford half. It's Rodgers again, right hand angle of the box, moving it into the penalty area. Cash with a low ball in, that's off a defender, and Aston Villa have their first corner of the afternoon.
Yeah, and Unai Emery right in front of us starts waving to the crowd, trying to gee them up, because the atmosphere has certainly been subdued in Villa Park in this opening sort of 20 minutes, but fantastic opportunity, lovely bit of play down just inside the 18-yard box of Brentford for Aston Villa.
Douglas Luiz gets a fine reception as he heads to take this corner in front of the cavernous Holt away to our right. Luiz drill to the back post, the volley from Martson is beautifully struck but over the crossbar. Couldn't have hit that much better, the left back, but it's a couple of yards over the bar. Yeah, brilliant routine work from Aston Villa. Lovely driven ball by Douglas Luiz, and I think it's Esri Konsa just blocks off Vandenberg, and it drops over on Matson's. He's tried to side foot volley it first time back across the goal. The connection was great, but just the accuracy on target as it flies just over the bar in front of the Holt end. But certainly encouraging signs for Aston Villa to get themselves a foothold in this game. We know how successful Villa have been from set pieces. Austin McPhee, the colourful set piece coach here at Villa, would have worked on that one, very nearly worked out as well. Brentford moving it forward, far side the left, close to the corner flag, poked back in the direction of Henderson, who will keep this in play. A couple of yards in from the touchline, uses Janelt now all the way back to Aya, who's on halfway. Vandenberg back in the team. Nathan Collins on the Brentford bench. Henry loops one over the top. Jensen thought he was fouled. Referee agrees. Well, it's that sort of thing he's been letting go. But Jensen, almost like a cricketer, turned in appeal to the referee, who thought about it and said, yep, I agree, have this free kick. Yeah, it's a real interesting battle now, because Unai Emery is trying to get some sort of pressure into his Aston Villa players to press high, especially when Brentford enter their half, which is now causing a few issues because Matty Cash is going tight in with Schade as he comes short. Rico Henry's pulling wide, but it's allowing a massive space for Jensen to run in behind, and he gets away from Bogard on the wrong side, about 35 yards from goal. Unfortunately for Brentford, he sees the tug back and they get a free kick, but it's a difficult one when you are pressing so high with so much intensity. It's certainly going to leave gaps. And this free kick is certainly not in what you'd call a prime position to shoot on goal. It's equidistant between halfway line and penalty area. On this near side, the left, 7 or 8 yards in from the touchline, so it'll be Janelt with his left foot to in-swing it into that corridor, and that's what he does. In fact, it's more of a dink, and that allows Martinez to come out and punch. May have had enough time to catch there, but took no chances, punches out. Always the issue, I suppose, Luke, with that sort of loopy trajectory, that it allows the goalkeeper to come herring out as he did there.
Yeah, credit to him as Henderson slips on the halfway line, but yeah, credit to him. He's had a couple of sticky moments where he's come for things that probably he shouldn't have done, but that one there certainly spotted it early on. Like you say, potentially could have caught it, but certainly took the pressure off Aston Villa defending that set piece.
And they are building slowly from the back once again. Villa 0, Brentford 0. 23 and a bit minutes played, 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. And we are watching what has been a good game so far. Both sides have been attacking well. Brentford have been the more eye-catching with their attacks, simply because they're getting the ball forward a lot quicker than Villa are, who are, the home side, quite content to play it patiently and smoothly through the lines. Buendia loses his footing, Jensen in quickly. Here's another swift Brentford attack. Thiago leading this one. Early ball through. Now Schade leaves it because Ouattara's onside and drags it wide, but now the flag goes up. Well, they may have both been offside, but Schade left it because he thought he was off. Ouattara went through. He missed it anyway, and we wait to see the replay as to whether that was the right decision, and it probably was.
Well, it's certainly close because, again, Brentford have found some space. Thiago's turned on in it, and Ouattara and Schade set off like race cars straight through the middle, and the ball was fantastic. Ouattara picks it up. Schade is definitely in an offside position, which means the back four of Aston Villa stop and almost hesitate. Then Ouattara comes through on it. I think he's just offside, but the chance and the finish was absolutely nowhere near the standard. And he had one of those last week against Nottingham Forest where he's clean through and he's missed the opportunity. He's pulled it almost 5 or 6 yards wide of the far right-hand side, dragged it across goal. But another indication of what Brentford are trying to do in its turn, play the ball over the top or through the middle, because Aston Villa certainly look like they're not quite in control of any time that actually happens this afternoon. So you see Unai Emery in front of us at the moment having a chat with Jadon Sancho and Tammy Abraham, maybe asking for a little bit more pressure, because certainly Brentford sitting at nearly 60% possession still inside this first 25 minutes.
Yeah, and he's able to have this chat, Unai Emery, because Jordan Henderson is currently receiving treatment. It was when he slipped on the halfway line, it seemed to just catch his ankle. Rodgers was in quickly, and Jordan Henderson, who looks okay, is going across to that far side to wait the obligatory 30 seconds to be allowed back on. And it did, as always, allow Unai Emery and Keith Andrews to have a quick chat with the players. And you're right, Unai Emery was in an animated discussion with the two former Chelsea men, Jadon Sancho and Tammy Abraham. So we are back underway as we tick into the 26th minute. Bogard with the bright boots. Sancho, clever ball, opened his body nicely. Rodgers onto this. Is being forced towards the corner flag near side the right. Sancho again just has to come away from the penalty area to ensure Villa keep the ball. And it goes from Bogard to Konsa and on to Pau Torres. The focus of the attack moves from right to left and left to right. It's now with Cash, very deep inside the Brentford half. There's been a marked contrast in the way both of these sides are building attacks. Villa are much more deliberate. Bogard looking for Rodgers. This will break nicely for Bogard. And back to Konsa as Villa creep their way forward. Brentford with everyone bar Igor Thiago behind the ball. Martin, who had that volley just a couple of moments ago, as the Villa fans try and get involved. Villa are attacking the Holt, which seems to go miles and miles into the sky away to our right. You've played here, Luke, many a time. It's a great place to come to. I imagine playing is equally as impressive as Cash looks for Sancho. It breaks to Abraham on the edge of the area. Buendia's right foot shot didn't catch it. Right foot into left foot, and it loops behind harmlessly for a Brentford goal kick.
Yeah, and for all Aston Villa's intention of keeping possession, the ball comes to Matty Cash on the halfway line, and he just tries to flip one over the top for Sancho to get on top of it, and then Rico Henry just heads it down, drops to Tammy Abraham, who then just lays one along the edge of the 18-yard box. But what he hasn't done is took care of the pace that he's delivered it back to Buendia, and it then comes on top of Buendia almost too quickly. He then sort of has a double kick, double touch on it, and it drifts wide of the post.
Kelleher was closed down very quickly by Abraham. He very nearly got there as well. In fact, Kelleher on the follow-through did catch Abraham, and he's still on the floor inside the penalty area. Coyote bumps Douglas Luiz off the ball. Not too many come out of a battle with Michael Coyote on the right side. And now the referee has to stop it because Tammy Abraham has not got back to his feet, and having lost Ollie Watkins to a hamstring injury, and Tammy Abraham brought in specifically to replace Watkins, This is not what Villa need, and he will need treatment. It was on the follow-through. We're just watching a replay. It's Kelleher's left foot. As he clears, he goes into the left knee of Tammy Abraham.
And Tammy Abraham had every single right to go for that ball, because Kelleher almost took an age. He then strikes it with his left foot as Tammy Abraham plants his right leg to just block that ball forward. His follow-through hits him just below his knee, and sometimes you look at the size of players' shin pads now in the game, you can't really criticise them for wearing them sort of a couple of inches too small, but that's a painful one. Certainly think he's going to be okay, but we've now just seen Unai Emery send out all of his bench now to get warm in front of us. Certainly a warning sign to his players on the pitch that he's probably not as happy as he'd like to be after 32 minutes.
Well, they did have to come from 2-0 down on Thursday night to beat Salzburg. Yes, that was a much changed team, but prior to that they lost here against Everton in what was a very surprising defeat, given how good Villa have been at home this season. They've not lost successive Premier League home games for over a year, and they had won 8 of their Premier League home games in a row before that 1-0 defeat to Everton. So just signs that Villa, who were very much in the title conversation, are just fading. As Unai Emery has often said, we're not contenders, and you did wonder whether that was him taking the pressure off his players a little bit, but he did point to the strength in depth, and we are now seeing that really with the injury list that Villa possess, and maybe they just don't have it in them to run the likes of Arsenal, who had a very good win yesterday, right to the wire. Abraham looks okay on this near side. In fact, he's back on the field now, being allowed on with his long hair bouncing behind him. Rain begins at Villa Park, and it's falling quite heavily, and we'll see what effect that'll have on this game. That is still Villa 0, Brentford 0, and we've played exactly half an hour on BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra. Aya coming forward for Brentford, far side the right. The ball in from Coyote is not hit with the required pace and accuracy, and Villa move it away nicely. Douglas Luiz with a lovely touch. Buendia back to Douglas Luiz. Another lovely piece of footwork. This is a wonderful Villa move. Will it have an end ball? It did from Bogard, but Jensen so quickly to surround Bogard, couldn't get the ball out of his feet. Ouattara now has it on that far side, the right. He's got Thiago and Schade inside the penalty area, and on the overlap arriving was Henderson, but he couldn't find that pass, and now Villa can come forward maybe with pace, albeit it's another laboured looking counter-attack. You can just hear the frustration of the fans that this next pass is likely to be backwards, and indeed it is, but Villa do at least keep the ball. But they're not keen, are they, Luke, to get the ball forward quickly? They're much more likely to go backwards and square and keep the ball rather than go forward with pace.
Absolutely, but is that maybe potentially because they're missing that outlet in Ollie Watkins, who loves to run in behind, and Tammy Abraham certainly doesn't mind it, but it's not something that he does on a regular occasion. So having the lack of threat and potential pace in behind at the moment is probably causing Aston Villa not to be able to counter-attack at the pace they'd obviously like to.
Bogard drops the shoulder and is effortlessly away from Jensen, but then went barrelling into Janelt. However, I think the foul came prior to that, maybe got a little nudge which sent him into Janelt, and the referee has given this free kick to Villa just inside the Brentford half.
Yeah, lovely bit of play though as he drove through the middle, and it looked like the little drop of the shoulder got him away from Schade's recovery was fantastic really, but he then followed through, and I think it was Janelt who got crashed into it. Looked like it was a Brentford free kick, but obviously Tim Robinson had noticed an infringement, maybe a little pullback that's caused Aston Villa to have this free kick in sort of 45 yards in front of the centre of Brentford's goal. Yeah,
long way out this. So you fancy Douglas Luiz will look to float one into that back post area. Martin lurks on the edge of the penalty area. Cash is not too far away from this free kick, offering the short option. Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa are both forward for this as well. 0-0, 32 minutes played. Villa have had the best chance of the game with that Abraham one-on-one. Luiz bent to the front post. Konsa's there and gets his volley horribly wrong. He was in oceans of space. 7 yards out, awkward angle because I think he was looking the other way, and as he tried to spin and volley goalwards, well, I'll put it this way, it was closer to the corner flag than the goal.
It's an absolutely huge chance. It's a brilliant ball over the top by Douglas Luiz, almost a straight ball. It lands on the 6-yard line, just outside the frame of the goal. And Ezri Konsa's tried to just clip it with the outside of his right boot, and he's almost got it so wrong that he's hit his laces and gone straight out towards the corner flag. But a massive chance. He could have been a header, he could have had a touch, could have brought it down, but a real let-off for Brentford.
It's the kind of chance, with the greatest of respects to Ezri Konsa, that you'd want to fall to an attacking player and not a centre-half. He's very good with the ball at his feet, Konsa, who will almost certainly be going to the World Cup with Thomas Tuchel in England, but yeah, he'll want that one back. As you say, he was in such a strange position. It was over his head, and he did try that poked volley, but it was, out of the three options of control, head, volley, it was probably the worst of the three he could have chosen.
It was. It brilliantly worked from Aston Villa. They ran a block on, which allowed Konsa to be 10 yards free.
Brentford deep into the penalty area. Ayer heads it dangerously back across goal. Then Henry on the follow-up with a big left foot that doesn't really go anywhere. Henderson heads back in the general direction of Brentford's attacking players, and this breaks to Cash in the right-back position. He's caught late by Ayer, and that'll be a free kick and the first yellow card of the game. Cash saw the challenge coming. Ayer took the bait, clearly catches Cash late, and it's a Villa free kick, right-back position, and Ayer goes into the book.
Yeah, you could see it coming almost a mile off, and to be fair to Ayer, he's tried to just probably block the line of the ball as Matty Cash is right in front of us on this touch line, and it's just the follow through and the pace that they're both running at. Thankfully Matty Cash is okay, as Onana, a sub for Aston Villa, and Collins run over to just escalate in front of Tim Robinson that it's not a foul, or it is a foul and a yellow card.
Yeah. Cash, who won the free kick, takes the free kick towards the edge of the Brentford penalty area. Janelt, chest control, loops a left leg and plays it towards Thiago. Great strength, no, illegal strength. Thiago has to watch himself there. He was ready to remonstrate with all arms towards Tim Robinson, who I think was a little unhappy with maybe the arm in Konsa's face. Possibly so, yeah, there's a bit of pushing and shoving there. But again, he let that kind of thing go in the opening 10 minutes, but he's pulled that one back.
I just think it was a little bit of a sloppy touch from Thiago. Then it's a coming together between him and Konsa, and he almost misjudges the sort of pace of the ball. It flicks round to the other side of Konsa, and it's just, like you say, the arms and the coming together, but it certainly looked like it was a 50-50 challenge.
Villa from the free kick have it with the former Brentford defender Ezri Konsa. 47 appearances for the Bees, only the one goal in a season for Brentford, signed from Charlton, then sold to Aston Villa, and he's made a very good home here at Villa Park. Rodgers and Buendia exchange neat passes inside the centre circle, and then Rodgers is dispossessed. Henderson and Ouattara rob him, and Dango Ouattara can take up the running. Now Coyote, but there's Douglas Luiz, who is in the team for numerous reasons, but one of them is exactly that, breaking up the play, and he did a good job of it there.
He started brilliantly this afternoon for Aston Villa, who have probably had to defend a lot more than they would have liked, but the way he's broke play up, then used possession as well. He's won it back again for Aston Villa, but Tammy Abraham gives it away. But his positional sense and the way he covers the ground for Aston Villa is fantastic, especially in that defensive midfield role.
The voice of former Ipswich and Forest defender Luke Chambers with us on 5 Sports Extra. You were telling me earlier you came up against Tammy Abraham here when he played for Villa in the Championship. What was that, 6, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, it was. You've probably got the stats, Chris, on how many he scored against us, but I'm probably going to leave that off the air for now.
I won't mention it.
No, yeah, top player he was at the time, and he got that move back. Obviously, he went back to Chelsea then. Didn't really get that opportunity to play in the first team as often as he probably would have liked, and then he's obviously had to move on, but he's had a fantastic career, and if he can stay fit, especially from now to the end of the season for Aston Villa, he's going to be a real strong addition.
Now, he's one of the players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ollie Watkins, you think would go, injury aside. Tammy Abraham, Danny Welbeck. There's seemingly a place on the plane for another striker, and with good goal-scoring form from here on in for any of the aforementioned players and more, then there might be a spot on the plane to stateside in the summer. Cash is battling with Henry here. Keith Andrews picks up the ball and then prevented Cash taking a quick throw, but released it just in time before Tim Robinson shouted at him. Throw taken to Rodgers, cushioned control. Douglas Luiz told by 40,000 inside Villa Park that Henderson was close to him, and he releases the ball quickly and gets it back from Torres on the halfway line. Rain has relented again at Villa Park. Still very gloomy overhead, this famous old ground The traditionalist in me is a bit sad that it no longer has the FA Cup semi-finals when they were played at neutral venues, when they were held at Anfield and Old Trafford and Hillsborough and here. And the one game that always stands out here is that Manchester United-Arsenal game in the treble-winning season when Ryan Giggs scored that incredible goal from the halfway line. Semi-finals at Wembley these days, as they have been for many a year, but it's one of those places, look, that you come to and you could just feel the history around, can't you?
Oh, it's fantastic the way it's set up, the double tiers everywhere you look around the pitch. Just fantastic to play your football and as a supporter to come, like you say, with that history. You know what you're going to get. It's a brilliant football stadium for anyone to come and visit, let alone play in.
Quiet couple of minutes. We've seen goalkeeper to goalkeeper, and now Konsa gets it back from Martinez, and Cash, the Villa right back, with 6 and a bit minutes to play until half-time at Villa Park. It is Villa 0, Brentford 0, and what had been a fairly bright half an hour has made way for a scrappier 6 or 7 minutes. Abraham has it right-hand side of the penalty area for Villa. He's got Rodgers in support. Abraham goes low and direct across the penalty area, and he'll just watch this out of play for a Villa throw, a couple of yards in from the corner flag.
You would have thought Abraham would have just had a go at Rico Henry there, almost stood on it. He's outside the 18-yard box.
Throw taken quickly. Abraham loops it over his head. There's no one at home at the back post apart from Ayer, who heads it away only partially. Martin on the left, his low ball in, easy for Kelleher. In fact, good call from Kelleher, because it would have been very easy for Ayer to inadvertently poke that in, but the round of applause that Ayer gave his goalkeeper suggested he got a loud call there.
I think that's the difference between Aston Villa's approach and Brentford's. Whenever Brentford go forward, there's 4 or 5 bodies in that box, but it just looked like there was only a couple now for Aston Villa, and both of them stood outside the back post and not really getting across to cause Brentford any problems. So something for Unai Emery to probably focus on as the half-time whistle approaches.
Both head coaches actually very similarly dressed, all in black, only difference being that Unai Emery's in the smart black boots almost. They almost look like walking boots, but very shiny. And Keith Andrews in trainers, still stalking, still glaring Unai Emery. Fourth official is Thomas Kirk, and he's right in the middle of the two. He's actually got his own little technical area here at Villa Park. You don't often see a fourth official have his own box, but he's got one.
Yeah, it's really cute, that one.
It is, isn't it?
Looks great in there.
Yeah. Here come Brentford, edge of the penalty area, flag up, far side, the right. Coyote moved a little too early, and Villa have this free kick just outside their own penalty area. 5 minutes until half-time, no changes in the scores elsewhere. Manchester United 1, Fulham 0 over on 5 Live. Casemiro's goal, and Nottingham Forest 1, Crystal Palace 0. Morgan Gibbs White goal. That's on Sports Extra 2 via the BBC Sounds app, and the Manchester United Fulham game is over on 5 Live, with Manchester City against Tottenham to come a little later. And in the WSL, Manchester City Chelsea is 0-0. Big game at the top of the WSL there. Here go Villa with Martin inside the box. Will he get there first? He does. Chips it across goal, headed clear, almost on his own line by possibly Henderson back there, who was helping out. It was an excellent header away, and it might lead to this Brentford counter-attack until Cash puts the challenge in, but the flag is up on that far side, and then Sharda very unwisely shoves Cash to the floor. Now that was right in front of the referee, and Tim Robinson is going to send Kevin Sharda off. A moment of madness from Brentford's Kevin Sharda, who shoves Matty Cash right in front of the referee, and Tim Robinson shows the red card. And that is one of the more nonsensical red cards you will see in the Premier League this season.
It's an absolutely crazy decision. The flag's gone off. Matty Cash comes through, wins a great tackle, but as Sharda's getting up off of Matty Cash, it almost looks like he stamps back with his right boot and pushes Matty Cash away. It's an absolute crazy decision. A moment of madness from Sharda right in front of the 2 technical areas, just 5 yards down the pitch. A crazy decision, which puts all of Brentford's good work and Keith Andrews' game plan out the window and gives Aston Villa a massive opportunity to take this game by the scruff of the neck.
Keith Andrews actually had to push Kevin Sharda down the touchline to save him from further trouble. Think Beckham on Simeone, think Rooney on Ronaldo. It's that stamp out. And when you watch it back, Tim Robinson got that absolutely right.
He wasn't even wrong-sided, Tim Robinson. It's literally 10 yards away from him. He's looking at the altercation, he's looking at the coming together, because Matty Cash comes across and wins a fantastic tackle just inside Aston Villa's half. And then Sharda just pushes and, I want to say, stamps, but without seeing it in real time, it was obviously a coming together. It was just so obvious. The whole stand in front of us rises to their feet, arms go in the air, and once that happens, you know that something serious has gone on.
Yeah. And Tim Robinson couldn't have been in a much better position, right on top of it. And in fact, all the officials, bar the assistant on that far side, the assistant on this right, the fourth official, they're all within 7-8 yards of that skirmish. So Sharda is off, Brentford are down to 10 men, and that does change the dynamic of this game. And suddenly Villa now will fancy getting their noses in front before half-time. We are just about to tick into the final minute of the first half, which had started lively and had started well for Brentford. Had just lost some of its vim and vigour in the last 5-10 minutes, but that red card for such a needless reason as well, Luke, that Sharda was offside, the game had stopped, Cash was getting up. Anyway, Cash on the ball now, dink to the back post, Martin arrives, nods it back, Buendia's volley blocked at source, Brentford clear. Now the first opening with 11 against 10, and it was Cash to Martin, who I thought might have gone for goal, but instead tried the cushion volley back, and Buendia's shot was well blocked. Here come Villa again with Martin. That's off Coyote, who will try and win the goal kick. Buendia's out there helping. Martin wins it back. Left-hand edge of the box. Low ball in. Oh, Abraham's dummy. Read by no one. And he turns around in disgust. Great idea had someone been there. The issue being that there was no one there.
And just back to my point I made 5 minutes ago, the brilliant play of Aston Villa slowly come alive after that red card. The ball comes in, Tammy Abraham runs across the front post and just lets the ball run through his legs, and expecting Jadon Sancho to be there, but he's not even anywhere near the penalty area for the tap-in.
Sancho's header forward, but too far in front of Rodgers. Easy for Kelleher. A red card too at the City Ground, where Nico Williams has been shown a straight red card. Nottingham Forest 1, Crystal Palace 0 is the latest score there. They, like us, are into added on time, of which there are 4 minutes that we are into now. Handball it was the decision against Nico Williams, and it's a penalty that's been awarded to Crystal Palace that Ismail Assar is about to take. And has scored actually. So Forest 1, Palace 1. Ismail Assar from the penalty spot after Nico Williams was sent off a handball. Brentford on the attack. Ouattara has space. His low ball in, blocked. Another chance. He scores. Brentford in front. The 10 men in first half stoppage time lead at Villa Park. Dango Ouattara with an emphatic finish into the roof of the net, and out of nothing, just moments after being reduced to 10 men, Brentford in front. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 1.
What a finish, Dango Ouattara, and again it comes from Aston Villa giving the ball away sloppily, and then a ball over the top from Aya, which causes confusion for Torres and Maatsen. Ouattara tries to cross it across, and then it comes back to him. He takes 2 touches, which are fantastic, back on his left foot, just outside the corner of the 6-yard box, and he smashes it into the far stanchion, just inside the post, all against a run of play after Aston Villa go up a man. What a finish for Brentford.
That is a terrific finish from the angle, put his foot through it, but with such accuracy as well. Martinez could only watch. It's his 4th goal of the season. Hasn't always been an automatic starter, Dango Ouattara, but that is just the boost that Brentford need. Having lost Kevin Sharda to that needless red card, that's a brilliant Dango Ouattara finish in first half stoppage time. Villa 0, Brentford 1. His initial cross into the box was blocked, but then when he got it back, he made sure he finished.
And there's that moment, the ball over the top again for Brentford, which has caused Aston Villa so many problems.
Cash with his own ball over the top for Villa. Sancho's low ball in, arriving was Abraham, took a nick on his way through. Suddenly this game has burst into life. Villa now have a corner with a couple of minutes of stoppage time to play.
And it's with all that pressure, all that possession that Aston Villa are trying to build. Another simple ball over the top. Sancho gets in behind. A brilliant cutback just outside the 6-yard box. And Abraham's contact just isn't there. Just gets a flick and goes over the crossbar.
Douglas Luiz corner into the final minutes of first half stoppage time at Villa Park. Brentford in front. Luiz to the back post. Headed away. Abraham was lurking. Martin back into the penalty area. The volley from Cash. Mishit. Cleared by Henderson on the edge. Thiago. And now there is a Brentford counter-attack, albeit the ball forward wasn't hit with the required accuracy. Now how ambitious will Villa be? 30 seconds of stoppage time to play. They trail 1-0 against the 10 men of Brentford. Bogard, left-hand side of the centre circle, inviting Martin to come forward, and there is space for Martin, but he doesn't take the opportunity to come forward. Conser's the last man back for Villa, and he's deep inside the Brentford half, who now have everyone behind the ball, Brentford, as they look to see out this 1-0 lead into half-time. A shock 1-0 lead after falling to 10 men. Buendia, we've played the 4 minutes. Buendia onto his right foot, looking for a shooting opportunity. Rodgers might shoot, on his left, back onto his right, needed too much time. Is that the final moment gone? Maybe not, because we are still playing. The goal did come in stoppage time, so Tim Robinson perhaps playing a couple of extra minutes to cater for the goal and the celebration. That Villa attack breaks down, and Thiago fouls Conser. And had that not been awarded a foul, Thiago was clean through. Oh, it's another one that is up for debate on that far side.
Thiago's certainly not happy as he walks over to the official and tries to question the decision. It's 1v1, ball over the top. Thiago's put his shoulder into Kozra's chest as he tries to probably head the ball clear. He then goes down. But probably for an Aston Villa perspective, they have got the right decision, but a real warning sign again that they can't just leave 1v1.
And that is the half-time whistle. What an intriguing first half that was. Brentford are in front, which is a surprise given the moment of madness from Kevin Schade, who was sent off with 5 minutes of the half to play for kicking out at Matty Cash, straight red. But they took the lead soon after. Dango Ouattara's 4th of the season, cutting in from the left, cutting in from the right, shooting in with his left from a tight angle, roof of the net. Villa's best chance came through Tammy Abraham with a score at 0-0. Rodgers found him. Abraham's poke well saved by Caoimhin Kelleher. Brentford, prior to the red card, very much in the game and had looked the more threatening without really testing Emi Martinez. Keith Andrews has gone herring over to, was it the referee he was talking to there? I'm not sure. Because of that, he's now a long way behind his team, so now has to overtake them to deliver his half-time team talk. All of that, Luke Chambers, means we're in for a very interesting second half with a score at 1-0 Brentford.
We certainly are, and Aston Villa are going to try and dominate possession. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But Brentford, what they have shown this afternoon is if you give the ball away, if you are sloppy in possession, we have a huge threat on the counter-attack, and they've certainly done that, especially after going down to 10 men. But what about the finish from Ouattara to put Brentford 1-0 up against probably the run of play as that last 10 minutes happened? So a real intriguing second half ahead for us.
And what do you think Villa need to do a little differently in this second half? It's the old cliche, playing against 10. It can be tricky, can be challenging. Is it, I suppose, all about moving the ball as quickly as you can?
Absolutely, but they're going to have to commit more bodies into the penalty area. They've had opportunities where they've crossed the ball, where they've delivered balls into the box, and it's only been Tammy Abraham, really, other than set pieces, that's been in there. And I think Brentford are really good without the ball, sitting in 2 backs of 4. Obviously they're going to be a 4-5 with Kelleher in goal in the second half, but they certainly have that threat and the pace on the break to cause Aston Villa problems and to just to keep them honest, as they will dominate the majority of possession in the second half. Yeah,
you think so. Luke, for now, thank you very much indeed. Back with Luke for the second half of Aston Villa 0, Brentford 1. Half-time also at Old Trafford, where it's Manchester United 1, Fulham 0, and at the City Ground, where 10-man Forest 1, Crystal Palace 1. So, an intriguing second half to come here on 5 Sports Extra. Do make sure you're with us in the next 10-15 minutes. In the meantime, we'll hand you back to BBC Radio 5 Live.
Palace 1. And on 5 Sports Extra, a Villa 0, Brentford 1 on after the news on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson.
the voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Documents released in the US suggest that 3 payments totalling $75,000 were made by Jeffrey Epstein to accounts associated with Peter Mandelson. They're part of the latest files published about the late sex offender. Lord Mandelson, who was a Labour MP at the time the payments were allegedly made in 2003 and 2004, said he had no recollection of receiving the money and has questioned the authenticity of the documents. Here's the Communities Secretary Steve Reid.
The reason he was removed as ambassador to the US is because there were things he had not disclosed. Now, I don't know how far that lack of disclosure goes. I think he should answer questions about his own life, not me.
The Slovakian government's national security advisor has resigned over his links to Epstein. Miroslav Lajčák is one of a number of figures around the world under pressure after the latest release of documents. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is also facing further questions after a lawyer told the BBC that a woman they represent was flown to the UK by Epstein to have a sexual encounter with the former prince. He's previously denied any wrongdoing. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has warned the US against attacking the country, saying it would set off a regional conflict. Officials from Tehran and Washington are currently negotiating in an attempt to avert conflict. Southampton General Hospital has cancelled all planned outpatients appointments today and restricted access to A&E after a fire early this morning. The hospital says no one was injured. More than 100 firefighters were on the scene earlier. And the Conservatives have chosen their candidate for the upcoming Gorton and Denton by-election. Charlotte Cadden is a former Greater Manchester police officer. You can see a list of the declared candidates on the BBC News website or app.
5 Live Sports.
The Six Nations.
Rugby's greatest championship returns.
What a day of the Six Nations it's been.
Live commentary of every match kicks off Thursday on 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
One of the all-time great tries. The Rugby in a Weekly podcast will be daily throughout the tournament with all the best insight and analysis from the biggest names in the game.
The Six Nations.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sports with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
We'll be back to the football shortly. Tennis first. Carlos Alcaraz has become the youngest man to win all 4 Grand Slam titles. He's still only 22. He beat Novak Djokovic in this morning's Australian Open final and says it's a dream come true.
A lot of people were talking about everything and having doubts about my level in this tournament. So, every year that I came here to Australia, I was thinking about getting the trophy. Couldn't happen. Couldn't go farther than quarterfinals. And coming this year, angry for more, ambitious for getting the trophy, and being strong mentally enough to not hearing anything or any words from the people, and then just playing a good tennis in this tournament means a lot. Means the world to me, and it is a dream come true for me.
Australian Open men's champion Carlos Alcaraz. Back to Leopardstown, main race of the day coming up at 3:20. The Irish champion hurdle, John Hunt.
Yes, a wonderful race potentially here. Dominated in the build-up by 2 fantastic mares. Lossiemouth is likely to be favourite this afternoon. With brighter days ahead, her main opponent, they served up a tremendous treat at Christmas at the track. Be great if they could do that again today. Against them, Anzadam, who is yet to fulfil his potentially still only 6, also representing Willie Mullins' yard. So too is the former top chaser El Fabiolo going hurdling once again now, and Ponyross not to be forgotten from that stable as well, the shock winner of the Triumph Hurdle last year. As you say, Steve, the big one of the weekend, just 20 minutes away.
And we'll be back with John for it. So half-time in the Scottish Premiership, Hibs 0, Rangers 0. If it stays like that, Rangers will move up to 48 points. They'll still be 6 behind the leaders' Hearts. Celtic could have the opportunity to move above Rangers into second this afternoon. They've got a big game against Falkirk at Celtic Park. Jane Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely no room for slip-ups, and that's already been acknowledged by the Celtic manager Martin O'Neill. Speaking pre-match, he says there's no margin for error as they chase down Hearts, but they come into this one off a positive result in the Europa League and in unbeaten form under O'Neill in his second spell as Celtic manager this season. Falkirk, though, are more than holding their own since their return to the top flight. They're 6th in the table, and they come here fresh from a 4-1 win over Hibs last weekend. Dane Murray makes only his 3rd league start in defence for Celtic. He's in for the suspended Austin Trusty. Unsurprisingly, Falkirk's hat-trick hero from last weekend, Barney Stewart, who 18 months ago was playing his football for Heriot-Watt University, he keeps his place in the starting lineup. The teams are out. We'll get underway at 3 o'clock here, Celtic against Falkirk.
Let's check in on that big game in the Women's Super League. Manchester City-Chelsea. Nathan Alban.
Yeah, half hour in, Steve. Manchester City 1, Chelsea 0, and the Wanted were playing ahead of kickoff. But never mind chasing the sun, City well and truly chasing a first WSL title in a decade. Carolyn's goal has them ahead. Chelsea had an equaliser ruled out for offside. City 1, Chelsea 0. City going 11 points clear at the top as it stands.
Other scores in the Women's Super League today. Full times. West Ham 1, Spurs 2, Everton 2, Villa 1, Brighton 1, London City Lionesses 2, and Manchester United 3, Liverpool 1. A result which has lifted United above Chelsea into second place in the Women's Super League. Once we're done with the games at Villa Park, Old Trafford and the City Ground, we'll be all back together here on 5 Live for Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester City with Clinton Morrison and correspondent John Murray. Clinton, are you listening? I can hear you in the background chirping away.
No, I'm just talking to John, innit?
Just having a nice conversation, that's all.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you with the live radio, guys.
Yeah, but listen, we're not meant to start till 4:30, but yeah, we'll come on for you to help you out. No worries.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Oh, wait, Crossy, is everyone still there?
No, it's just me, Clinton. This is how it works on a Sunday. Is this your first week, or no?
I was listening to you on the way down. I wanted to say, good show, mate. Very good show.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Now I feel bad.
Yeah, no, don't feel bad. Come on, that's me and you's relationship. Don't worry about that.
Looking forward to this one, John. I mean, as you'll have heard earlier, that the interesting thing about Tottenham with their poor home record is this, ironically, is exactly the kind of fixture where they tend to look a bit better.
Yep, we've been saying that, haven't we, Clinton, all season about Thomas Frank's Tottenham. The fact that, they do labour, don't they? But against opponents like this, who you would expect to dominate possession of the ball, that does seem to suit them a little better.
Yeah, I totally agree with John. It's one of those games where they've got a good record against Man City. When you're not the favourites or the other team dominate possession, it's brilliant for Tottenham. And in particular, a Thomas Frank team who like to sit there and play on the counter-attack.
I think this is a huge opportunity, as they say in management meetings, for Tottenham, because if they are able to win this match today off the back of Wednesday, winning in Germany, admittedly against a Frankfurt team that couldn't progress in the competition, but nevertheless they won that match. If they're able to win this one as well, right there, that's the best week that Thomas Frank's had in the job.
And there isn't that long ago that people thought it might be his last week in the job, going back to before the Borussia Dortmund game, Clinton. So it's a mini revival, which will feel like a proper one if they win today. Yeah,
you're right. But then they're still at Burnley last week. There's still away fans shouting like Thomas Frank out. So it's difficult. I think once the crowd go, and fair play to the hierarchy, because usually when the crowd starts wanting a manager out, usually evidently you lose the job. But I think they believe in him and they're sticking with him at the moment. But yeah, this is a big game, Crossy, and I think you're right. We'll quieten the noise until the next couple of games. But what I must say is this game plus the next 3 games are all tough for Tottenham.
It's also, John, so big for Manchester City. It's a real nail-on-the-head game for them, isn't it? It doesn't sort of need too much context, too much looking into it. Because of how Arsenal looked, particularly yesterday, City have got to keep pace with them now. There is no opportunity, really, for them to slip up.
Yeah, got to. And remember, a little bit like Tottenham with the fixtures they've got coming up. Next Sunday, this time next week, we'll be at Anfield talking about Liverpool against Manchester City. And, this is the season that we are having, isn't it, in the Premier League, in that they were 13 matches unbeaten, and it looked as though things were all heading in the direction that probably most people expected, and then they hit that bump against Manchester United, lost in the Arctic Circle to Buda as well in the Champions League, which all affects confidence. Not scored in their last 2 away games in the Premier League, the 0-0 draw at Sunderland and the Manchester derby. So, okay, they've won the last couple of matches, but they are not firing.
We'll have a lot more time, Clinton, to talk about Dominic Solanke before the game gets underway. We know he's going to be starting this afternoon. But everything now is through the lens of the World Cup in the summer. It's there for him and a couple of other players, but it's there for him if he can stay fit and stay on form.
Yeah, definitely. What Thomas Tuchel, he'll know about all these English strikers. He's obviously got one, which is Harry Kane, and then the rest are all fighting. I think Ollie Watkins is the man in possession at the moment because he's got the advantage of being in squads and been in good form recently. But as you say, he's got a hamstring injury, so he misses this afternoon's game. But it's an opportunity for Solanke. Might come too soon for him because he's been out for a long time, but all he can keep doing is putting the ball in the back of the net, Crossy.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham's got a hamstring injury today, I've just seen as well with Real Madrid, so we'll be there for full commentary at 4:30. City, Spurs, Man City. Let's check back in on the cricket. Kevin.
Well, no major changes here. Sri Lanka 180 for 4. Now 1 ball left to the 19th over. But the main cricket story really, I mean, obviously this match here we're talking about with Sri Lanka and England ahead of the World Cup T20 starts next weekend. Last weekend we were talking about the fact that Bangladesh had boycotted in the event, and there were some question marks of whether Pakistan would take part. Well, there's been a tweet from the Pakistan government on this issue. And this tweet now reads that the government of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan has granted approval for Pakistan to participate in the event. However, they shall not take to the field in the match against India, which is scheduled on the 15th of February. This was always going to be part, perhaps, of what they were going to say. Pakistan were the only country, as far as we're aware, to back Bangladesh over their decision to boycott the entire event. This is no doubt related. However, we've had no, at this stage, any response from the ICC, but it looks as though Pakistan-India will not take place as part of the World T20, which starts next weekend.
OK, Kevin, thank you. Villa-Brentford, second half, 5 Sports Extra. Forest-Crystal Palace, Sports Extra 2. Well, we're back underway at Old Trafford. Ali?
Yeah, 10-man Brentford 1 up at Villa. Nottingham Forest down to 10 men, 1-1 against Crystal Palace. Back underway here. Manchester United lead Fulham 1-0. Casemiro's header in the 19th minute under grey skies in Manchester here, and Fulham in the white shirts, black shorts, white socks, on a really good run of form at the moment, but 1-0 down against Manchester United. They will play from left to right in this second half as we look at it from our commentary position inside the Sir Bobby Charlton stand, and the Manchester United goalkeeper Senna Lomans has the ball at his feet inside his own penalty area, teases Raul Jimenez towards him and then picks that ball up. So it's Lomans in goal, Dalot, Maguire, Martinez and Shaw, Casemiro the goal scorer, and Kobbie Mainoo in central midfield, Ahmad, Fernandes and Cunha, with Brian Mbeumo as the centre forward. No Mason Mount today. Benjamin Sesko on the bench. Mainoo's on the ball. He's trodden on the ball and fallen over, but Bruno Fernandes picks up the running in the midfield, finds Cunha. Cunha stabs it out to the right-hand side. Another goal in the WSL. The leaders Manchester City at home to Chelsea. Nathan Alban.
Manchester City have doubled their lead. Bunny Shaw, far too strong for a defender, and tucked it away at the near post despite slipping over in the process. Manchester City 2, Chelsea 0.
Manchester United here in the red shirts, white shorts, black socks, attacking the Stretford end.
Welcome back to Villa Park. You are with BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra. Second half of Aston Villa 0, Brentford 1, not too far away. The team's beginning to emerge from the tunnel. We can see Keith Andrews striding out. I wonder what he's had to say to his team. He would have been delighted with the first 42 minutes, then not so pleased with Kevin Childer's red card, but then very pleased with Dango Ouattara's fine goal into the top corner. And he's marching out of the tunnel now, dressed all in black, hood halfway up on a day that it has rain in the air. In fact, the rain is falling again at Villa Park, and the Villa players are gathering in the tunnel, and so too the Brentford players. And Ezri Konsa, the Aston Villa skipper, leads his Villa side back onto the field, needing a response in the second half of this game. They had to come from behind to beat Salzburg in the Europa League on Thursday, and they've actually won a Premier League high 18 points from losing positions this season. Luke Chambers alongside me, and he's pointed to the touchline because you can see a certain Leon Bailey who is coming onto the field, and it's Lamar Bogard who is being replaced. So we've got a defensively minded player in Lamar Bogard, replaced by the more forward-thinking Leon Bailey. Luke.
What an addition for Aston Villa to bring back into the squad that can certainly have some real attacking intent to something that they were missing in the first half. I was interested to see whether Unai Emery would make changes at half-time because his side were very, very disappointing. They've certainly been given a leg up with the sending off of Sharda, so it makes sense to bring another attacking threat, and he's made his way over to the far right-hand side, and Buendia almost has drop into that central midfield playmaking role. But work to do for Aston Villa, but they've certainly got that extra man that's certainly going to play into their favour come the end of the 90 minutes.
Leon Bailey, who spent the first part of this season on loan at Roma. He played in the 2-0 win for Villa at Newcastle, coming on as a substitute. He's back at Villa Park, and he's getting a decent reception as the announcement is made. And Villa, who trail 1-0, as Luke says, have work to do, but they are up against a team with one fewer man after Kevin Sharder's red card. So we will see what develops on 5 Sports Extra. Brentford lead 1-0. Villa, if you remember, was swapped in that first half, so they're kicking away from the Holt end in this second half. So that is from right to left as we watch from the Trinity Road stand in their claret and blue shirts, white shorts, blue socks, and Brentford in their chain strip of light blue from, I say, head to toe, bar the socks, which are a claret red. And they are watching Villa build slowly from the back. It's with the red-booted Torres in field to Buendia, blue base layer, and now Martson left-hand side, angle of the penalty area, the gloved Sancho running at 2 Brentford players, Rodgers, who needs to be on the ball more, you feel, for Villa in this second half. The orchestrator-in-chief was a little bit quiet, couldn't really conduct the orchestra in front of him to any great effect in that first half. Here is Bailey for the first time, and he's just on the edge of the penalty area, onto his left foot, nearly found Rodgers, but it's opposite number in the 27 shirt, Janelt, that got there in front of him, but Rodgers wins it back, plays it in field. Buendia is challenged by Janelt, wanted the free kick on what actually would have been a penalty, but no chance of that decision going Villa's way, and now there is a free kick awarded on that far side, the left, for Brentford. So Villa, who have started with a little more ambition in this second half, but you sense that will be the message from Unai Emery, Luke. You have the one-man advantage, make it count.
Absolutely, but I'm just looking at the way Keith Andrews has set his side up in this second half. He's gone for a 4-3-2. Ouattara's gone through the middle up alongside Thiago, and he's got Henderson just to the right of Janelt and Jensen to the left. And they're certainly working across the pitch over and again as Aston Villa look to work it from side to side. But a real interesting one, because he's certainly leaving those 2 up high to try and maybe hit them on the counter-attack and keep them honest as the game develops.
Thiago looking to dispossess Konza in the Villa penalty area, but Villa worked that out of the box nicely. However, to no great effect, and it's out of play for a Brentford throw far side the left in front of the Doug Ellis stand, where the Brentford fans are housed, or at least in the corner of the Doug Ellis stand opposite us. And we can see the red and white scarves and the red and white replica shirts on what is a rainy afternoon in the West Midlands. Certainly not as cold as it has been recently, but still pretty glum and grim, and it's not been an afternoon that Villa have enjoyed so far. They want a free kick by their own corner flag. They don't get it, but it might work to their advantage, because now they're hurtling forward at pace. Buendia plays a lovely ball outside of his right boot. Sancho running at the penalty area. Coyote backpedaling. Sancho onto his right foot. Buendia in support. Sancho goes on. Angle to shoot. Kelleher saves. Abraham scores. Villa equalise. And it's Tammy Abraham. Welcome back to Villa Park. So many goals during his initial loan spell, and on his return he scores for Villa to make it Villa 1, Brentford 1.
And that is exactly what any returning striker, any striker in the Premier League would want. The ball cannoning off, Kelleher dropping right in front of the 6-yard line, and he absolutely buries it. But it's all about Jadon Sancho. First time in the game, he's really picked up pace. He steps inside as Brentford really asked Tim Robinson, is there an offside in that? But no, he steps inside, just onside the 18-yard box, cuts back, then drives again off his right foot, double take, inside the D, drives one back across Kelleher, who can only put his right hand, a real strong hand, but it just drops into the danger zone. And as a goalkeeper, you have to clear that area. Tammy Abraham on the front foot, buries it with a right foot side finish. Fantastic response from Aston Villa, but it looks like it's a check from the VAR currently under Tim Robinson.
Yeah, the complaints from Brentford are not for offside, it's for right at the other end of the field when Cash and Bailey and Henry are together, and the ball looks like it's gone out of play. So Brentford actually stopped playing because the ball crossed the line, but the assistant didn't give it. Now, this happened a good 20 seconds prior. Now, the check is possible ball out of play. Now, the fact it's being checked, Luke, suggests that this might not count, because it does look like the ball is out of play.
Well, we've had the replay, haven't we, in front of us, and it definitely is out of play. So I'm not sure why it would potentially be taking so long as we look at another replay in front of us. Bailey goes down, and it's very difficult from the angle that we're currently seeing to 100% conclude that that is out of play. Initially, it looks like it is, but the more you see it, and they're looking at another angle now, and this one that I've just seen in front of me certainly does look like it's out of play.
You might remember, was it the Newcastle-Arsenal game last season where they poured over whether a ball was out of play, and from one angle it looked like it was, and from another angle it didn't. And the angle that we see, it looks out of play, but I think if you move the camera square on, it probably isn't.
Well, I think it's not enough doubt in my mind to say that it's conclusively out of play, and at this point in time they currently don't have the angles. We're looking at another angle now as Aston Villa break down that far left hand, Brentford broke down, and it's just one of those now. It's so much confusion inside the stadium, even for us.
Usual problem that no one knows what's going on if you don't have a monitor, which we're lucky to have, but the fans have no clue, bar the VAR message on the screen which says checking goal, possible ball out of play. Now this was in Villa's defensive third. This was the other corner flag to where the goal was scored. And then the attack progressed. Sancho cuts in field, right foot shot, Kelleher saves, Abraham scores. Now Tim Robinson chatting with Paul Tierney, who's the VAR in Stockley Park. Abraham has his hands on his mouth because I wonder if he thinks that his big moment is about to be ruined. Esri Konsa and Matthias Jensen have been spoken to by the referee. Here comes the announcement from Tim Robinson. He's asking the players to move away from him. He blows his whistle. I think this is not going to count. Yeah, ball out of play. Listen to what the Villa fans think of that. And Tammy Abraham grits his teeth because his equaliser does not count, and Brentford still lead by a goal to nil. And one thing you can say for sure, Luke Chambers, is we have not heard the end of that.
Absolutely not, as Tim Robinson runs 40 yards over towards the touchline to give Keith Andrews, I think it is, a yellow card. And the reaction, but again, from our point of view, from the replays, I can't 100% say that the ball is out of play. So way too long for the decision to be made. You can understand the frustrations, but here we are now, Brentford still 1-0 up at Villa Park.
The result of all of that is Brentford actually have this long throw in a very attacking position. Martinez doesn't claim. It's played dangerously back across goal. Villa can scramble it clear. That's a foul by Aya on Konza, and that's a free kick to Villa, which they take quickly. Still Brentford lead 1-0, but has that wrong as Villa will see it. Can they turn it into a positive? You can, well, tonight, match of the day, you can watch it 10:30, BBC One, iPlayer as well. They will pour over it, I'm sure. Martson has it for Villa. Sancho, whose good work is undone. It was his shot that led to the goal. Infield, Martson, shooting chance, declines. Sancho on the angle. Back infield to Rodgers, and that intricate ball through. Martson wasn't on the same page, and Brentford have this goal kick. And with 8 minutes of the second half played, what an interesting few minutes. It is still Villa 0, Brentford 1.
Yeah, crazy few minutes, and you think Aston Villa has started so brightly in the second half, had a real great chance, and it looks like it's a certain goal, but listen, they're going to really pour over that, like you say, over the next sort of 24 hours, and it's going to be certainly one that we're going to look back on and think is the right decision been made. But just a point there, Aston Villa have committed 4 or 5 bodies forward, but Brentford still have 8 or 9 bodies inside their own 18-yard box just to see out that danger. So it's going to be a very, very difficult one. I think the way Aston Villa broke with pace on the counter-attack will certainly be the best way for them to get back into this game.
Yeah, and final word on the ball out of play. The only thing I can compare it to was, I'm pretty sure it was the Newcastle-Arsenal game of last season when they did check whether the ball had gone out of play, and from one angle it looked like it had, clearly, but then once they moved the camera round, if you see what I mean, to a more square on, there was a tiny scintilla of the ball just on the line. And then I remember Sky and Gary Neville doing quite an in-depth deep dive of camera angles and ball positions and saying, well, actually it's not accurate. It's exactly like that, so you'll have your view one way or the other. Anyway, Villa moving forward. Rodgers low ball in behind everyone. Coyote's touch loose. Martson couldn't get on the end of that. Torres on halfway, plays it in field. It's with Luiz. Villa can sense there's something in the offing here. Sancho in the box. Martin's low ball across. Abraham's flick had Vandenberg in the way, but the pressure is ratcheting up on Brentford now. They might have survived that VAR goal, but how long can they keep this rampant Villa out? Throw taken quickly. Konsa to Cash, far side the right. Cash comes in field. Now Konsa Now Douglas Luiz, and now Torres. Listen to the fans getting involved. Martson to Sancho again. So much of the players come through Jadon Sancho. His ball in is a beauty! Rodgers couldn't quite turn it home, and Kelleher is on it. And I doubt we'll want to get Brentford moving forward quickly because they're under the cosh now.
They certainly are, but he has got them moving forward quickly. Thiago and Ouattara against 3 Aston Villa players. But the ball now again drops back into Aston Villa's possession, and they're now looking to play forward, and it's going to be a long, long afternoon for Brentford if they continue to place quite so quickly and try and get a counter-attack. Villa 0, Brentford 1, 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. On 5 Live, Manchester United now 2-0 up at home to Fulham. Mateus Cunha has doubled Manchester United's lead. And on Sports Extra 2 via the BBC Sounds app, still Nottingham Forest 1, they're down to 10 men, remember. Crystal Palace 1. The 10 men of Brentford holding firm, but for how much longer? It's Sancho again, into the box, troubling Coyote. Sancho onto his right foot. This is very similar to where the goal came from that was eventually disallowed. Sancho decides not to shoot, instead goes short. Buendia, Rodgers, Sancho, one-touch football. Martson, left-hand side of the box. And now Sancho trying to weave his way through a couple of bodies. Not able to do so. But Villa are certainly building up a head of steam here. And so much of the players come down this near side of the left. Villa are attacking from right to left. That's away from the Holt end, which is a rarity for Villa in the second half of matches. The attack on that far side, the right, Bailey's touch lets him down. And that's a throw to Brentford. Left back position. Brentford lead 1-0. And this is Luke Chambers. Yeah, we're just looking down to the Brentford bench now. They're going to have to change something at the moment because they've started to try and leave those 2 up, but I've just seen Nathan Collins being called back, and I think it's Yarmulke as well who's gone back over to the bench to just get some instruction. Looking forward to some changes for Brentford to try and sort of stem the tide, but the atmosphere's certainly been raised inside Villa Park. They certainly believe that Aston Villa can get themselves back into this game. They just need to continue to play with a lot more pace, because at the moment they're trying to play into Brentford's numbers, especially around the 18-yard box, and Morgan Rodgers and Sancho just getting on top of each other a little bit at the moment.
Douglas Luiz, base of the centre circle, spreads it out to Cash, who's level with the edge of the Brentford box. His cross is deflected. Buendia around the back. Kelleher saves at the front post. Well, the Cash cross took a good couple of nicks on its way through. Buendia in the left back position, or the left wing position, very nearly turned it home. Taken quickly the corner. Buendia to Rodgers inside the box. Tight. Bailey shoots. Deflected. Corner. And you feel the goal is coming.
It's certainly trying to be sucked into the net from an Aston Villa perspective, but I'm just looking at Morgan Rodgers, I'm looking at Sancho. Can you give us a little bit more from an Aston Villa side? Currently they're just a little bit slow.
Another corner taken short. It's Cash on the edge, outside of the boot. Ball is a great one. Oh, Konsa can't control. There's a couple of Villa's big chances have fallen to Ezri Konsa. The volley in the first half, difficult one to control there. Doesn't manage it. Brentford have this goal kick, and another chance for Brentford, who lead 1-0 to regroup.
Yeah, you can't question Aston Villa's intention at the moment. They're playing with real pace, couple of short corners, playing quick, comes out to Matty Cash. He bends one in with the outside of his right foot towards Konsa, and I think Rico Henry just tries to get on the end of it, which puts him off. And we mentioned earlier the conditions and the slickness of the surface just takes it away from Konsa at the back post.
Brentford changes. Jordan Henderson is coming off, turns and applauds the Brentford fans. Nathan Collins, indeed, as Luke suggested, is coming on, and so too is Yehor Yarmulke, the Ukrainian midfielder. And Jordan Henderson is one of them, and Dango Ouattara, the goal scorer, is coming off for Brentford. And we see another replay of his fine goal in the first half when he put his left foot through it into the top corner. But his game is over. Jordan Henderson's likewise, and on come Collins and Yarmulke, which presumably, Luke, means some form of reshuffle for Brentford, because they still have Vandenberg and Ayer on the pitch. So 3 at the back, perhaps?
Yeah, they've gone straight into a back 3 with Vandenberg. Collins has gone in the middle of Ayer. Coyote's on up to the right, Rico Henry out to the left, and then they've got that midfield 3 of Yarmulke, Janelt and Jensen. But Villa come streaming forward again,
led by Rodgers, but Abraham can't control. Yarmulke gets his first touch, inadvertently runs into Douglas Luiz, and Buendia can set Villa on their way again. Konsa to Cash, striding forward in the Villa Park gloom, and now Bailey on that far side, the right, running at Henry. Bailey into the box, onto his left foot to Rodgers, can't control, and Brentford will clear with Thiago, who is isolated He's done really well there, Igor Thiago, to find Henry, but because Thiago's worked so hard to win the ball back for his side, there's no one up front for Brentford, so this is coming straight back at Keith Andrews' side, and it's Pau Torres. Villa Park hushed for now, but Villa are certainly playing the kind of football that they need to play to get them back into this game. They thought they had with Tammy Abraham's equaliser, ruled out by VAR, the ball out of play, right down the other end of the field in Villa's defensive third. Ball from Rodgers across goal, deflected, corner Villa. It's good work at the front post there by... who was that doing the defending there? By Janelt in the way, so Villa have this corner.
That's the first time we've seen Morgan Rodgers running behind this afternoon, and he gets in some great space, tries to drill it across, but they need more from him at the moment.
Corner taken short. I think Villa have taken all their second half corners short. It's out to Cash again, who has space, onto his right foot, shoots over the bar. He hit it well, but it was always a couple of yards over the top, and it remains Villa 0, Brentford 1.
Yeah, Aston Villa, it's all Aston Villa now, and I think we're looking at the Brentford players, and especially Aya. He's calling over to his... Again, we mentioned the set-piece coach earlier. There looks like a bit of confusion after those substitutions about who's doing what job. And one really let off there from Matty Cash. 25-yard strike, just goes over the bar and allows Brentford to regroup.
18 points from losing positions this season, Aston Villa. And they are looking to win more points when behind here. But they still trail 1-0, and we've played just over an hour on 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. 0-1, Villa Brentford. Fulham have a goal back at Old Trafford now. Manchester United 2, Fulham 1 over on 5 Live. George Huenza, the centre-back, has got one back for Fulham there. Sancho, who has seen plenty of the ball for Villa in this second half, running at Coyote. He's backing Coyote into the penalty area. Excellent defending from the right back. Wins the ball, clears downfield, and then urges his team forward to try and catch Villa's forwards offside. Buendia makes a dart behind the Brentford back 5 as it is now. Konsa tiptoeing forward. The industrious Bailey takes over with the socks fairly low down his legs. Not quite Jack Grealish level, but not far off. Douglas Luiz keeps the move going. Smooth pass to this left-hand side. Sancho again drops the shoulder, sets off in the direction of the box. Rolled into Martson. Douglas Luiz. Buendia makes another dart forward. Another dart ignored. Konsa to Cash. 25 yards out. Central position. Pace of this attack, though, is a little pedestrian, and Brentford have no problems now. They might do with Martson, who had his shirt pulled by Coyote. Maybe not enough to give a penalty. Martson is straight back on his feet anyway, and we play on. Douglas Luiz, back in field it goes. Konsa, once again in that central position. Cash on the angle, all the way across to that far side, the right. Villa are patient, waiting for the prime moment to strike. Cash inside the box, falls into the challenge. No chance that's a penalty. And Igor Thiago can clear for Brentford, but it is relentless Villa pressure. They need this equaliser. They still have plenty of time in which to find it, but at the moment Caoimhin Kelleher remains untested.
Absolutely, and it's such a difficult phase of play when Brentford are dropping 5 in the back 5 and then a 4 across the middle for Aston Villa to find any space.
Villa having to work so hard to find those little gaps. They need some ingenuity. Sancho might provide it. His ball in, missed by everyone. Oh, it was behind Buendia, it was behind Rodgers. Unai Emery came hurtling off his bench to indicate what should have happened, and that was someone arriving late. And it didn't happen. Villa reload, Sancho reloads. Here's Martin on the left-hand side of the penalty area. Sancho ignored this time. The yellow-booted Buendia, Konsa with his shirt sleeves rolled up, almost as if to say, right, give me the ball. The hard work starts here with some graft. Buendia, Martson, one-touch stuff. Sancho, deflection on his cross. Corner Villa from the near side, the left. Will they take another one short? The answer is yes. Relentless from Villa. Sancho away from his man, into the box. Will he shoot? He does. Blocked at source. Thiago will clear. And in fact, it's more than a clearance, it's a very deliberate ball through, and now Jensen finds Thiago, who is bursting his way through challenges. He won't get the free kick though. Bailey and Martson surround him. Thiago hits the deck. No free kick, says the referee. And this is relentless Villa pressure, but it's captivating. You can't take your eyes off it.
It's like a chess match at the moment, and it's all Aston Villa on the attack. but again, just being kept honest by Igor Thiago, bursting through the middle.
That Fulham goal disallowed by VAR. Having a busy afternoon is VAR, so still 2-0 Manchester United over on 5 Live. Buendia on the edge of the penalty area again, just outside the D. Konsa to Cash. He's played that pass 10 times in the last couple of moments as Villa look to move Brentford from left to right. No cross forthcoming. And in fact the ball is very close to the halfway line, or at least closer to the halfway line than the goal. Torres now inches forward, several yards outside the box. Sancho yet again running at Coyote. Step over onto his right foot, angle of the box. Here's the shooting chance, this time for Luiz. Laid off, it's Cash who shoots, saved by Kelleher. The rebound, Rodgers loops it over the bar. Cash again with a chance, hit it really well, but straight at Kelleher, and with a couple of strong hands beats it to safety, and it remains Brentford 0, Villa 1. Villa 0, Brentford 1.
And it all starts again with Jadon Sancho as Kelleher is lying in his own goal at the moment. Is he trying to waste some time? Jensen's down in Brentford's box, but it starts with Jadon Sancho. He's been such a threat in this last 10 minutes, uses the ball brilliantly. It then comes into Buendia, who instead of trying to take a shot off 4 yards outside the 6-yard box, lays it off to Matty Cash, and then the whole of Villa Park lets out an enormous frustrated groan because he takes a touch, but then he strikes one, but he just can't find the corner. But that's the first time we've really seen over 5 or 6 players inside Brentford's box, because they have the insurance of Pau Torres and Konsa almost 30 yards from Brentford's goal, and that's how far Aston Villa are camped in Brentford's last defending zone.
And we can breathe after that breathless passage of play. Great to watch, and maybe not a surprise as much as it'll frustrate Villa that Caoimhin Kelleher's taking his time to get to his feet. There was also treatment administered to Rico Henry, who was down in the penalty area. It allowed Keith Andrews to have a fairly animated discussion with Coyote, who's having to do an awful lot of defending against Jadon Sancho.
I think that's the case. He's brought over Yarmulke as well, who's almost playing this right-hand side of the 3 in midfield, and he's saying, look, you are going to have to help out Coyote here, because Sancho has certainly got the beating of him. He's took him on 6 or 7 times in this half, and he's got past him 6 times, so it's a very, very worrying sign. They're going to have to keep playing it out to him from an Aston Villa perspective.
Brentford, who have had a good season, but not so away from home. Only Wolves, bottom of the Premier League, have more away defeats than Brentford this season, although they have won 2 of their last 3 on the road. Having really struggled in the early part of Keith Andrews' tenure, they are having to battle so hard to keep this 1-goal advantage intact at Villa Park, and we are over halfway in this second half, the final quarter of the game. And which way will it go on 5 Sports Extra? Brentford at least have a little bit of time on the ball here, because they have possession, at least with his throw, deep inside Villa territory, and after defending so much in the last 10 minutes, this will be of a relief for those out there in blue. Here comes a Coyote long throw. They'd love a second, of course. It's another good one into the heart of the penalty area. Thiago's there, can't sort his feet out. Oh, he was offside anyway. What a big chance that was. The ball seemed to land at Thiago's feet. No one expected it. He must have got a nick from someone, because the flag, he's miles offside. He's standing right in front of the goalkeeper, good several yards off, so it wouldn't have counted. But still, Villa can't be too switched off to the Brentford long throw, and they're coming again in the Villa Park gloom. Floodlights continue to shine. We can see the weak floodlight shadows on the players. Sancho running at Coyote, defending him well. Buendia, stationary, backwards of square. Douglas Luiz, Konsa again, still has his shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows. Now Bailey on that far side, the right in front of the Doug Ellis stand, where the Brentford fans are standing, most of them. Good ball in, Cash can't control. He's been in front of centre of most things attacking for Villa, has Matty Cash. That was a clever ball from Bailey, just in front of the onrushing Cash.
It's a difficult one, really, because Konsa and Pau Torres and Cash are almost playing like your creative midfield players, 30 yards from goal, and they can't quite get the ball maybe moving quick enough or make the right decisions from an attacking perspective. So maybe one like Morgan Rogers needs to drop out a little bit from that front line and find a little bit more space so we can dictate what Aston Villa are doing.
Yeah, Rogers conspicuous by his absence really in the last 10 minutes of Villa attack. He's trying to get on the ball, but he's been well marshalled. Here's Pau Torres. Brentford happy to let him have the ball. Great ball in. Abraham lurking. Vandenberg with a crucial header to make sure it didn't reach Tammy Abraham, who's already had one goal disallowed. Bailey swings another in, just in front of Rogers. That's Collins who heads it away. Konsa has it back centrally positioned. His centre-back colleague, Pau Torres. And now Sancho once again. Here is Martin, level with the edge of the penalty area. Sancho, Douglas Luiz, nice triangle. It's Martin on the left-hand angle. Rogers now does pick it up. Dink to the back post. Great ball in, cleared by Rico Henry and out for a Villa corner. Now a message appears on the big screen, which is the same message that Lucas found on his phone, and this is from the Premier League Match Centre on X, who have explained why the Villa goal was ruled out. The referee overturned the on-field decision of goal to Villa with the ball deemed to be out of play within the attacking possession phase, which is known as APP. Here come Villa. Buendia away over the bar. Laboured effort, always over, leaning back high over the crossbar. So we have justification as to why that has been ruled out. You can see why they do it, Luke, but we kind of know why it was ruled out. We know why it was ruled out. They felt it was out of play.
I just think that communication needs to become clearer in a quicker fashion. It shouldn't take so long. And that's the frustration. Listen, if the referee, Tim Robinson, had the information inside a minute or even two to give to the crowd, it immediately alleviates the frustration. Listen, you might agree with it or not. If it's factually out of play, that's the end of the conversation. And here we are again discussing something that shouldn't have taken quite as long as it did.
Yeah. Well, it's been the long debate with VAR in the game, and it's almost sadly become part of it, which is very frustrating for the fans who have no clue what was going on apart from the message on the screen. Anyway, into the final 20 minutes, BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra, with Villa constantly attacking, with Kevin Sharder's dismissal in the first half, meaning Brentford are down to 10 men, but they are defending well. Sancho running once again relentlessly at two Brentford players, although that's well done, Yarmolyuk to clear, and in fact the flag is up. So Coyote won the ball initially, I think, and then it just took a nick off one of the Villa players. Sancho was behind the last man. That's a free kick to Brentford. Coyote and Yarmolyuk exchange a high five, and Brentford have this free kick just outside their own penalty area. And as we tick into the 73rd minute, Luke, that the belief will grow, won't it, from Brentford? I'm sure you've been in many a game when you're down to 10 men and you're defending for your lives, and as minute 60s turn into 70s, turn into 80s, you suddenly think we're nearly there.
Yeah, your siege mentality at the end of the day, you think everything's going against us, can we stick together? And I think I mentioned a minute ago, Keith Andrews had a chat with Coyote and Yarmolyuk, and immediately they've managed to stifle that threat that was coming down Aston Villa's left through Jadon Sancho. There's no real threat so far. They've seen that off, so Aston Villa are going to have to change tact again to try and create any sort of pressure on Kelleher and Brentford's goal, because so far the chances have been few and far between. They don't really have the option of getting the ball wide and crossing it. Brentford have got three big strong centre halves who will absolutely eat all of that up, so real questions that need answering from a Villa perspective.
Keane Lewis Potter about to come on for Brentford, which will be Premier League appearance number 100 of his career. Incidentally, Kevin Sharder's 100th appearance for Brentford, and it's not one he'll remember. He's marked that milestone in the worst possible way with that red card. Konsa to Rogers, all on the edge of the Brentford penalty area, which is where the ball has been for the majority of this second half. Pau Torres stationary, once again at walking pace. Sancho, there is an air of expectation whenever he gets the ball. However, his cross in or his pass doesn't reach the intended target. Thiago can't keep hold of this, and it's coming straight back at Brentford. Matson, early ball, Sancho in the box, slips, stands on the ball as he tried to make his way inside the box, and that's an easy clearance from Aya. And Brentford, who it looks like a 6 at the back at times, because Janelt is almost dropping into that back 5. Douglas Luiz sidling forward, central position, give and go with Martin, once again on the angle of the penalty area. Once again it's at walking pace. Buendia offers the overlap, can't progress inside the box, so it's back with Sancho, and now Douglas Luiz again. Villa continue almost metronomically to go from left to right and from right to left. from Torres to Konza to Cash. It's with Cash again. His cross deflected into the path of Luiz. Shooting chance. He takes it on. Kelleher saves at the second time of asking, and luckily for him, there was no Villa player in close proximity. Buendia rather needlessly shoves him, and Brentford actually have this free kick and an opportunity now for them to make this Keane Lewis Potter change.
And that's probably the first sign that we've seen from Aston Villa of frustration creeping in, with Buendia running his way through now. As I'm just looking at Aya for Brentford, just gone down with a little bit of cramp in his hamstrings. Collins stretching off those calves, pulsing those feet up and down. But all it is now from an Aston Villa side of things is you have to keep probing, you have to keep moving the ball, and because you're just hoping for one of Brentford's defenders or one of their attacking players just to switch off half a yard, so that gap opens up and you start to really test Kelleher.
Matthias Jensen is off for Brentford. Harvey Elliott is preparing to come on for Villa, the lesser spotted Harvey Elliott, who is coming on for just his 4th Premier League appearance. There was great fanfare when he moved to Villa from Liverpool on loan. It felt like a really good fit, but for whatever reason, and only Unai Emery will know, and when he's asked, he doesn't really give too much detail. He has not been able to force his way into this side, and he went long spells of his loan spell early on where he just couldn't get in the team full stop. But he's about to come on to play the final 15 minutes or so, and maybe that's the kind of player that Villa need to unlock a door. Cash with the ball forward. Henry's fouled by Bailey. Villa fans don't like that, but Unai Emery is saying calm. You don't need to race and rush here. I know the clock might be against us a little bit, but there's still time.
Yeah, absolutely, there's still time. But I think going back to the Harvey Elliott discussion, Aston Villa have just done so well, and the players that have had those opportunities have certainly taken them with both hands. And we're just seeing Jadon Sancho come off now, who's certainly given a good account of himself this afternoon. He's tried things, he's played with some pace and power, but Rodgers now will drift out to this more probably familiar over the last few months position to try and create something for his side, because he's really been non-existent today. So they need him to try and raise his levels a little bit, and Harvey Elliott will pop into that number 10 role.
Number 9 on his back, Harvey Elliott. He'll be desperate to impress. He'll be pleased at getting some football, having been so good for England's under-21s as well in the Euros. Won player of the tournament in the summer, got the move to Villa, but his career is rather stalled. Here is Buendia for Aston Villa. Square it goes, and Konsa now over halfway. Rodgers has indeed come out to this near side, the left, as Villa go from right to left, away from the Holt and towards the north stand. The Brentford fans continue to mostly stand and look on. They're getting closer to what would be a very impressive away win. Rodgers now taking up the Sancho role of running at Coyote. His early ball in, slips as he crosses, and that's easy for Kelleher. And Brentford have done a really good job in the last 5 minutes of just quelling that mad 10 minutes that Villa had when they were just going at Brentford.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kelleher again, another frustrating one. He's tried to smash one down the centre of the pitch. It's gone all the way through to Martinez, and that wave of claret and blue shirts comes back down towards Brentford's goal. They just need a little bit more pace and probably impetus at the moment. It's all a little bit too slow from a Villa side of things.
And Villa, who have lost twice to Brentford this season, once in the Premier League, they lost in the League Cup as well. And they're 12 minutes away from losing this one. Brentford are still in front. Villa 0, Brentford 1. Ouattara's first half goal just after Schade was sent off. Rodgers dispossesses Coyote illegally. Coyote actually won the ball really well initially, and then Rodgers fouls Coyote, who gets a huge slap on the back from Christopher Aya. And that's the siege mentality you're talking about, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Michael Coyote, listen, he's had a difficult opening to this second half, and Aston Villa certainly were exploiting the fact that he was out on this near right hand side in front of us on his own, but he certainly stood up to the task, and he's now coming out on top of most of the battles that he's involved with.
Manchester United still 2-0 up over Fulham on 5 Live. Still Forest 1, Palace 1 on Sports Extra 2 via the BBC Sounds app. Tottenham Manchester City is under an hour away now. 4:30 kickoff, with John Murray and Clinton Morrison on 5 Live. At the moment, Manchester City remain in second. Villa will go above them if they can get a point at least. Here's Cash on the angle of the penalty area. It's a point they're not getting at the moment because Brentford are defending expertly. Konza to Martson, and now Rodgers on the angle of the penalty area. Still really hard pressed to think of a Kelleher save that has been out of this world. A good one to deny Cash from range, but he's not really had to do any work that you'd call masterful. Here's Cash to Bailey on that far side, the right. Now Bailey running at Henry. His cross is a good one. It's over Kelleher, who hesitated for a moment. It is headed away. Martson spins away from Yarmolyuk, heads towards the penalty area, dinks another cross in. Buendia misses it. Bailey at the back post, can't control. It's the left foot strike from Elliott that is really well blocked. It's Janelt in the way. Brentford defending so impressively, but that was an opening. Still Villa come. It's Maatsen on the left-hand side of the box. Another low ball in. Buendia stretches, can't get on the end of it. Yarmolyuk will clear, desperately hoping to find a blue shirt. Thiago does enough to put Torres under pressure, but it's coming straight at Brentford. That was half an opening there.
It certainly was, and they've got 5 players inside the 6-yard box, and that just makes Brentford think, and you have to move and pick up the player in front of you, and you can't worry about what's behind you, and that will open the door for Aston Villa. If they can put balls in the box and commit bodies forward, they're really going to start to ask questions of this Brentford back 5.
It's a door Villa are desperate to break through, but at the moment Brentford are making that very difficult. Fulham now do have one back from the penalty spot. Manchester United 2, Fulham 1, so an interesting finish there in the final 5 minutes at Old Trafford. The diminutive Buendia back to Torres, who comes forward menacingly, and he's onto his left foot, but again at walking pace. Rodgers to Buendia, he's in the box. Yarmolyuk stands him up, chip to the back post. Bailey arrived, but it was headed away again by Henry. Torres picks it up. Now Konza to Cash, keeps the move going to that right hand side. Bailey on the angle of the penalty area. He's stood up by Henry once again. Bailey will have to go backwards of square to keep this attack going. Konza must have had so many touches, but really acting as a conduit for Villa to keep the attacks moving. Rodgers' ball into the box was delightful, but it was just in front of Abraham, just in front of Bailey, and it scampers harmlessly out of play for Villa, and Brentford survive another attack, and now they've only got 8 minutes to survive.
Yeah, as we see Rico Henry go down, not happy from a Villa supporter perspective. You hear the groans and the boos ring round Villa Park, but that is testament to absolutely everything that Brentford are given at the moment, and whether it's a tactical decision or not, as Thiago and Coyote come over to Keith Andrews and his team and get that much needed drink and breather from the pressure that Aston Villa are putting on them. But at the moment, as it stands, they're just not doing enough at the moment, and Rodgers has just stepped inside the 18-yard box on the corner of it and just whipped one in towards the back post. But every single time the ball's coming in from this left-hand side in front of us, Bailey is hanging too far out that back post. He's had a couple of opportunities. If he can just get across Rico Henry, he's probably got 2 chances where he could have got on the end of.
No surprise that Brentford are taking a lot of time over every opportunity, so substitution or free kick or goal kick. Henry receiving treatment. Tim Robinson is ordering him off the field. He's quite angrily ordering the forlorn Henry off the field, who isn't happy. In fact, it's a change, you're right, Luke, yeah, and Aaron Hickey is coming on to the field to replace Rico Henry, so that's why Tim Robinson was ordering off the field, because Henry was being replaced. I'm not sure he realised that. So Aaron Hickey is on. We got a brief shot of the Scotland manager, Steve Clarke, who is in the stand, the former West Bromwich Albion manager, not too far away from here, but casting an eye over Aaron Hickey, and he'll have around 7 minutes or so to impress on at left back for Rico Henry, and he's involved in the game straight away because Bailey has it on that far side, running at the recently introduced Hickey. Bailey loses sight of it for a moment, uses Elliott, and with his left foot finds Cash. It's back to Elliott again. Crowd want to cross, including substitute Ross Barkley, who's right in front of us, and he waved his hands angrily as Elliott refused the opportunity to cross. Torres does cross, and it comes off Yarmolyuk and out of play for a Villa corner. And with 5 minutes to play, you fancy that maybe the crosses will have to go in with more regularity than they are.
Well, I'm just interested to see if Douglas Luiz, they created a couple of chances first half from set pieces, and that every single one they've had since then has been a short one, but it looks like Louise is going to whip one in now from this right side in front of us.
This will be going long. The North Stand holds its breath. In comes the corner. Kelleher punches under no real pressure. Cash was close, not close enough. Elliott picks it up. Now Bailey on the angle. His left foot cross to the back post. Buendia was there, headed away by Janelt, and then the header forward by Cash is straight into the arms of Kelleher, and Brentford survive another minute. 5 minutes of normal time to play. Still they lead 1-0.
Yeah, and again, Kelleher smashes one over the top towards Yarmulke, and Morgan Rogers has found himself in the left-back position. It drops down to Thiago, but they just have to keep their eye on that, because there's certainly time for Brentford to maybe get a breakaway and cause Villa some problems.
Well, they're keeping hold of the ball very nicely now. Kelleher with his left boot forward. Keane Lewis Potter with, I think, his first touch of the game. He was introduced a good few minutes ago. He was then fouled, or at least Hickey was fouled on that far side, but referee was happy for play to continue. Villa have it with Konsa. Thiago bundles him to the floor, and the referee says play on, because Villa do have possession of the ball, and it's with Martin who's running forward with it. Rogers now on the angle, try to find Martin with the ball, but that was read and telegraphed by Coyote, who can now stretch his long legs and move Brentford away from trouble. Buendia fouls him, and Coyote, as he gets up, screams with delight. 2 fist pumps. Saw a lot of that from Carlos Alcaraz today when he on his way to winning the Australian Open, the double-handed fist bumps, and we saw it there from Michael Coyote. We know how big this is for Brentford.
It just gives them another couple of moments, couple of minutes to just take that breather and relieve the pressure. We're into the 87th minute, and so far, for all Aston Villa's possession, can you call it threat? There hasn't been too much of it, but he has been fantastic in this second half.
Yeah, Villa have just struggled to find the creativity needed to break through what has been a very resilient Brentford back line. And Brentford have the ball exactly where they want it, and that is deep in Villa territory. And this throw by the corner flag that Martin will take gets it back from Buendia, and Brentford, well, if they keep this up for the final few minutes, then they're nearly there, albeit there will be a fair chunk of stoppage time, because the VAR check alone must have taken a good 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that roar that comes from the whole end when that board goes up. But at the moment, Aston Villa have amassed 501 passes in this game today, 4 shots on target. So at the moment they just need to try and change it and open that door, because so far Brentford have slammed it shut.
Yeah, they're not a prolific team of chance creators, Villa. They tend to score from very few opportunities, and that's been apparent today really, because they've not created a great deal. Here's Martin, and now Rogers hugging the touchline left hand side. He's running at Coyote again, step over into the box, shooting chance, he shoots, and Kelleher makes a good save. We've not really seen enough of that from Rogers. Did find the angle to shoot and the space, but Kelleher makes what in the end you'd call a routine save to his right.
Yeah, it was, and it came through bodies, because Morgan Rogers again picked it up right in front of us outside the 18-yard box, and he's attacked Coyote really direct. Couple of step overs which put Coyote off his balance. He cut inside and then tried to reverse it back to the near post, but credit to Kelleher, he held onto it well.
Rogers sets off again, goes cross country, wants the free kick. He felt he was pulled back. Referee was right there again and ignored him. Torres with the ball into the box. Abraham interested, deflects to Bailey just inside the box, left hand side. Louise with the header is over the bar. He was arriving at some pace and the ball was awkward, and in the end he couldn't really do anything with it bar head it over the crossbar.
Yeah, and again it's just a poor decision from Leon Bailey out that far right hand side. He cuts back on the 18-yard box and just tries to clip one just outside the penalty spot, and realistically, is Douglas Luiz going to score a header from there, arriving at the pace he was? And there was just an easy first time ball to lay back on the corner of the box for Matty Cash to maybe deliver across to take a shot on, but again just too many poor decisions from Aston Villa when they're attacking.
Fulham have equalised at Old Trafford. Manchester United 2, Fulham 2, and they're into 9 minutes of stoppage time over on 5 Live. Here it's 1-0 Brentford, as it has been since the start of the second half, as has Villa's numerical advantage. It's been sometimes easy to forget that Brentford have been down to 10 men for all of the second half.
I think when you're a player, the amount of sessions that you do on the training pitch in these scenarios where you have two banks of four, a 5 and a 4, you almost get indoctrinated with it because you're used to it, and it's very difficult to create chances, and Aston Villa have certainly found that this afternoon.
Into the final 10 seconds, we wait to see the board. Elliott swings an early pass to Bailey, collects it really well. Now he's into the penalty area. Bailey onto his left foot, over. Oh, chance for Villa. 10 minutes added on, and there is the Luke Chambers roar. But that Bailey chance, and it was a chance, on his left foot, puts his shirt into his head into his shirt. He was leaning back and fired over.
And we mentioned Harvey Elliott's involvement. The ball lands to him just inside his own half, and he whips out a fantastic pass with technique, drives it out to Bailey, who's again 1v1 against the substitute Hickey. He feints, he comes inside. Hickey almost goes to ground a little bit too early. The goal opens up, and instead of just stroking it into that far post inside Brentford's net, he blazes it just over the crossbar. A real let-off for Brentford.
Wow. And 10 minutes wouldn't have pleased Keith Andrews, albeit it's probably fair enough.
And the break came from Brentford having a throw-in on the halfway line, committing bodies forward, and then Aston Villa regained possession and played quickly.
Well, Brentford have it deep inside Villa territory. Can't really do anything with it. Abraham's touch, Buendia dispossessed. Manchester United are back in front. What a game at Old Trafford. 3-2 Manchester United now lead. Šeško has scored. Manchester United 3, Fulham 2 deep in stoppage time. Are we to see another goal here? Brentford have defended so well. Keith Andrews will be delighted with what he's seeing. Villa just have not done enough thus far, but there is still time. We've only played 90 seconds of the 10 minutes added on. So, again, Unai Emery, I'm sure, will say to his team, don't panic, don't rush just yet. Bailey on that far side of the left. Angle of the box once again. Elliott, backwards of square. Konsa to Martson. They're moving it slowly to Rodgers on this near side of the left. His left-footed ball in is put behind by Coyote, who's got in the way of most this afternoon, but at the expense of another Villa corner.
And it's a little one for me to see. I've just spotted a couple of times Douglas Luiz labouring forward a little bit, trying to get up with play. Tammy Abraham's got his hands on his knees at the moment, and you would think it'd be the Brentford players, but Aston Villa are looking slightly jaded and tired.
Martson, the short corner again. Rodgers is on the outside of it, and now Buendia slips inside the box. Again has to come out of it to ensure Villa keep the ball. Rodgers shoots, slips again. Loads of players losing their footing now as maybe the dew begins to set, as afternoon turns to early evening. It's actually brightened up above. The rain has stopped. Sky's getting brighter. Flag still limply lying. There's no real wind to talk about. And Villa desperate to build something here. Rodgers on the angle of the penalty area, left-hand side. Footwork is good. He's away from Coyote, and Yarmolyuk into the box. Takes a nick off Collins, Avaya rather, and that goes out of play for a Brentford goal kick, and they've negotiated and navigated 3 minutes of stoppage time, 7 to play.
And those high fives and big fist pumps come together from the Brentford players. Aya, Coyote, Yarmolyuk, especially out on this right-hand side where all of Aston Villa's attacking intent is coming from. Just 7 more minutes for them to get through.
It'll feel like an absolute age for Brentford. For Villa, it'll fly by. Just sense the crowd, maybe the calm before the final big 5-minute push. It's actually the Brentford fans you can hear on that far side, just about coming through. And if they can hold on to this, it'll be one of their most, if not the most impressive performance away from home. Keith Andrews, who felt his side should have got something against Chelsea, they lost 2-0. Should have got something at home to Forest, they lost 2-0. And they've been very good defensively here, having scored a wonderful goal, that after losing Kevin Schade to that needless red card. Here come Villa again. Martin to Pau Torres. Outside the penalty area, there are 6 players in a claret and blue shirt waiting for a cross. Rodgers to Martin, there's space for it now. Can't get past the front post, and it's Aya who is celebrating every clearance like he's just scored in the cup final.
Well, it looked like he was celebrating. He was absolutely hammering Yarmolyuk, who had dropped Maatsen as the runner inside the 18-yard box. There's a corner for Aston Villa with Douglas Luiz.
That's what it means to these Brentford players. Corner, Douglas Luiz swings it in. That's Kelleher who punches. Rodgers on the edge, chance to shoot. Another great block. This time it's Hickey. Rebounds to Elliott on the edge of the penalty area. His left-footed ball in. Another one blocked at source. Thiago can clear. What's he done? He's run into Martson, and suddenly there's 3-on-1 here. It's with Luiz on the edge. Oh, and the cross off Douglas Luiz out for a goal kick. Well, Igor Thiago, he knows there. He turns to his defence and apologises and says, well, I'm not sure what he says, but he's mightily relieved that Villa couldn't take advantage of that.
Yeah, and he runs off with a massive smile on his face because he's absolutely got away with it there, but he ran immediately back to his back five and apologised for giving the ball away so sloppily around the D of Brentford's penalty area.
5 minutes of stoppage time have elapsed. 5 to play. The goal kick long from Kelleher and out of play. Unai Emery still in his Arsene Wenger-like black jacket, hands plunged in his pocket, steely look as he watches his Villa side build yet another attack with Cash, who's actually had probably the best of Villa's chances in this second half, with a couple of decently hit strikes from just inside the penalty area. Rodgers having another go at Coyote. This time gets a great ball into the back post. It's Cash again, who can't divert goalwards. Referee has a decision to make and points for a goal kick rather than a corner. It's another great ball in from Rodgers, and Cash at the back post got something on it, but not enough to turn home.
And for me, it was brilliant play from Rodgers at the back post. It looked like Aaron Hickey. It looked like a certain goal for Buendia to tap it in just outside the post. Back across goal. Sorry, Matty Cash. But Aaron Hickey dives in across. Absolute spread across the goal and blocks the ball out. Comes back off Matty Cash, and Brentford escape with a goal kick. Brilliant bit of defending from Aaron Hickey coming on late substitute.
And will it be one of those afternoons for Villa? Will it be an afternoon to remember for Brentford? Abraham, who's actually been very quiet bar the goal that was eventually disallowed. Service has not been as good as he would have wanted. Oh, that's given away by Konsa. It was too far in front of Cash, but then Brentford commit too many forward and Hickey gives it away. And now Bailey, he was looking to take the place that Hickey vacated. He didn't really get his touch right, and Hickey got back to recover and puts it out of play for a Villa throw, which Cash will hurl in.
Yeah, worrying moments there for Brentford. Almost looked like they were going to be on a certain counter-attack. It was just a heavy touch from Hickey. But Villa now have a real dangerous position for a long throw-in from Matty Cash.
Cash will hurl it in front of the Brentford fans. It gets caught in the wind. It goes all the way through Martson's volley. Yet another one blocked. This time Hickey again. And that'll drop out of play for another Villa corner. So many blocks from Brentford, who have quite literally put their bodies on the line.
And that moment there just looked like it was going to be it. It dropped to Martson just outside the penalty spot. He's crashed a left foot volley off his laces, almost hits Aaron Hickey in the top of the neck. But brilliant bit of defending again.
Another Villa corner. We have 2 minutes of stoppage time to play. Another one goes short. Elliott, left foot, shoots. All that was travelling. Thiago in the way. Celebrates again like he scored a goal. More in the direction of the Brentford fans. That was well struck by Elliott. Needed Thiago in the way.
So brave to just put his head in the way of that one.
Bailey, one arm in the air. Another Villa corner, pushing for this equaliser. Thiago's there again. Cash on the volley. Oh, and it was a difficult one. It was the cross volley. The ball was spinning and spiralling. So difficult to control. And actually he relinquished power to get the direction. And in the end, the direction wasn't there either. And it's out of play for a Brentford goal kick, and they have 90 seconds to play.
What a let off for Brentford, and it just looked like it just sat up a little bit too high. But once Matty Cash had committed to the technique, he had to have a strike, but a real big groan from all around Villa Park.
Coyote puts a big size 10 through it, and Emi Martinez, spectator in the second half, has barely, in fact, I don't think he has touched the ball. Such has been the rear guard action displayed by Brentford, who had no choice given their one-man disadvantage. Rodgers again. Is there to be one final chance for Villa? We are in the final minute. We are in the 100th minute. Martson crosses towards the back post. Hickey's header is up rather than out. Elliott making a nuisance of himself. Bailey picks it up on the right. Hickey's there again. pokes it out of play. Villa have this throw. Cash wants it quickly from Bailey. In fact, Cash says don't bother because I'm going to hurl this in, and with 30 seconds to play, this could be the last Aston Villa chance. Cash goes short. Elliott chests control. Back to Cash, who has space to cross. In it goes. Headed over by Torres. And that could be that. Pau Torres heads over. Potentially Aston Villa's last chance. With 10 seconds to play, Brentford have this goal kick. And they are on the verge of an incredibly impressive away win.
Absolutely. They've been brilliant in terms of a defensive rear guard. They're playing as a back five with 4 in front, and Thiago's almost played as a central midfield player. His defensive responsibility from every single player in a sky blue shirt has been absolutely fantastic this afternoon.
There it is. What a heroic performance from Brentford. That is a brilliant away win from Keith Andrews' side. And you can see what it means to the 11 players out there for Brentford. The celebrations. The Brentford fans jump up and down, wave the scarves. They would have been fearing the worst at 0-1 and down to 10 men. But they gave that absolutely everything. Villa had chances. Tammy Abraham had a goal ruled out that will be debated with the ball out of play. But they didn't really create enough. Kelleher made a couple of good saves from Matty Cash, but Villa were a little bit toothless, and Brentford did what they needed to do and win away from home, which has been a rarity this season. They beat Villa at Villa Park. Dango Ouattara's first half goal